After being universally criticized online over the plagiarism scandal, I publicly announced my retirement from writing. My boyfriend, who had just been indignantly blaming me, froze. "What are you doing? I thought you still had a lot of debt to pay off." His white moonlight, the so-called victim in the plagiarism scandal, is also starting to panic. "Vivi, you don't have to punish yourself like this. I'm willing to give you a chance to start over." I looked at the madly flashing camera lights below the stage, not a flicker of emotion crossing my face. In my past life, the two of them humiliated me while working in tandem to steal the fruits of my creative labor. In the end, the words I had toiled over became the foundation of Chin Ruoro's celebrated reputation as a literary genius. If I could do it over, I'd delete the pen name I'd used for 6 years without a second thought. I've had enough of living in that cramped rental. It's time to go home and inherit the family fortune. As for Chin Ruoro, I'm curious to see how you'll manage to finish the remaining half of the work. 1. Ms. Meng, you keep insisting you'll provide evidence to prove you didn't plagiarize. So where is that evidence? As a former reader of yours, I find it hard to believe you would do such a thing. Were your previous works truly your own? Faced with countless microphones thrust toward me, I froze for a moment. Then my heart began pounding fiercely. I've been reborn, back to the very day I'm holding a press conference to clear my name. In my past life, my boyfriend's long-lost love plagiarized my novel, which was based on my own unrequited romance story. The book hit the top of the website's bestseller list on launch day, creating a sales phenomenon in the youth campus fiction genre. After being shared by popular influencers and marketing accounts, countless netizens said it was deeply moving. I originally intended to share my draft as proof, but unexpectedly, the files were wiped clean on launch day, leaving not a single trace behind. I endured an unprecedented wave of online violence, receiving funeral wreaths, black and white photos, and terrifying packages from all over the country every single day. I gritted my teeth and kept creating, only to be hunted down by an extremist anti-fan who stabbed me to death in a frenzied attack. And now, after just a moment's hesitation, my wonderful boyfriend of 3 years, Shui Chen, couldn't hold back from launching into a tirade. "Meng Weiwei, if you say Ruoro is slandering you, then show us the proof. Don't just make baseless accusations and sling mud." He glared at me furiously, yet a flicker of smug satisfaction flashed in his eyes. Of course, how could he not know exactly what was in my folders? What he wanted was to ruin my reputation and make Chin Ruoro the new rising star among writers. I lowered my gaze, picked up my laptop, and walked over to the presentation podium. I powered it on and cast the screen. The next moment, under the astonished gazes of everyone, I deleted the author pen name I had used for 6 years. Shui Chen and Chin Ruoro immediately rose to their feet. I spoke in a cold voice. "Everyone, I have been wronged today. The evidence that could clear my name has been destroyed by those with ill intentions, leaving me no way to defend myself. As of today, this pen name is retired. I am putting down my pen for good and will have no further involvement in the online literature community." 2. I finished speaking and was about to leave with my computer when Shui Chen flew over to block my path. "What are you doing? Didn't you say you still had a lot of debt to pay off? You're just going to quit writing? Didn't you say every day that writing was your biggest dream?" Chin Ruoro panicked as well. She walked over, her eyes brimming with tears. "Vivi, you don't have to punish yourself like this. I'm willing to give you a chance to start over." I watched the two of them perform with a cold smile. The next second, Chin Ruoro suddenly bit her lip and dropped to her knees right in front of me. "Vivi, please don't quit the industry over something so trivial. Your readers will never let me live it down. I can delete all the information and pretend none of this ever happened, but if you quit the industry, I'll feel terrible, and I won't write anymore either." The rapid click of camera shutters instantly focused on her. My former top editor couldn't resist stepping in to help her up. "Ruoroa, what are you talking about? Why would you kneel before a plagiarist?" "She brought that on herself. You just signed that big contract with the company. Don't forget, there's still work to be done." "I'm not in the mood to get attacked here, so I'll just leave." To avoid being swarmed by reporters, I took a detour down a side street and caught a cab from the back entrance to head back to my apartment. On the way back, my Weibo notifications kept popping up. I clicked open and found that 4 of the top 10 trending topics were about me, #Meng Weiwei plagiarism, #Meng Weiwei and Chin Ruoro, #Chin Ruoro forced to kneel, #Chin Ruoro's ghostwriter, a deranged marketing account denied all the works I've ever created. They claimed I plagiarized Chin Ruoro's ideas and threatened her to become my ghostwriter. My Weibo comments section is flooded with insults. "Damn, That's disgusting. I can't believe I was a fan of a plagiarist. I watched the whole live press conference. Meng Weiwei was so cornered she didn't dare say a word, and they even forced Qin Ruoruo to kneel in the end. At least you had the sense to quit and leave the scene, otherwise, I would have made sure you were finished. Even your own boyfriend came forward to expose you. Meng Weiwei, what on earth have you done? I think she's just trying to run away after making enough money. I support Qin Ruoruo taking her all the way to court and making her face legal consequences. My back-end comments are nothing but a torrent of vile and abusive language. In contrast, Qin Ruoruo's Weibo follower count skyrocketed, accompanied by a flood of heartwarming and encouraging comments. I left a comment, hope you can keep up the daily updates and finish the second half. Don't let your readers down. I know I don't have many manuscripts left. Qin Ruoruo was far too impatient. Worried that I might publish before finishing my draft stockpile, she decided to strike first, but she couldn't pick up on any of the foreshadowing or Easter eggs I'd planted earlier. It's only a matter of time before she's exposed. 3. I returned to my rented apartment. The 90 square meter place, neither too big nor too small, was arranged by me to be warm and cozy. On the weathered wall, photos were arranged in the shape of a heart, a photo of me with Xue Chen, but every single one was taken secretly by me and developed by someone else. He never wanted to take a photo with me. He's reluctant to post on moments, and on anniversaries he'll disappear in advance, giving her the silent treatment. I'd been covering the rent and utilities all these years. And I've also been footing the bill for most of our meals, shopping, and outings. I immediately told my landlord I wanted to break the lease, despite the pressure of having to pay a penalty, toss what needs to go and pack up the rest as quickly as possible. Just as I was rushing around like crazy, someone knocked on my front door. I opened the door to find Xue Chen and Qin Ruoruo. Vivi, are you moving? As soon as Qin Ruoruo walked in, she fake-handedly gripped my hand, but I coldly pulled it away. Xue Chen stared at me coldly, his disdain evident in his expression. Moving? From what I know, her father passed away from illness a long time ago. All these years, the money she's earned from writing so diligently has gone toward paying off her father's old medical bills. She can't even bear the thought of paying $2,000 a month for this place. If she moves, it'll probably be into some shabby single-room dormitory. I stared at him expressionlessly. What do you want? Xue Chen spoke with disgust. Apologize to Ruoruo and publicly admit you plagiarized. For my eyebrow twitched. Is this even human speech? I snapped at him furiously. Xue Chen, don't you know the truth? You've lived off me for years. How dare you have the nerve to say such things now? Xue Chen's expression didn't waver an inch, and he said with complete confidence, you're nothing but an orphan with no job. While Ruoruo has been the princess everyone adores since school, whatever she wants, I'll make sure she gets it. You probably don't know this, but Ruoruo's parents are middle school teachers, and she's a million times better than you in every way. My boyfriend, whom I've been with since college, is now attacking me with the harshest words imaginable. All he knows is that I come from a single-parent family and moved out because of disagreements with my mom. Little did I know, my mom is actually the regional head of a multinational corporation in the Asia-Pacific. My father left us an inheritance worth 9 figures after he passed away. I guess I ended up staying here in the first place just to escape taking over the family business. I will forever be beyond Xue Chen's reach. Seeing that I remained silent, Xue Chen took it as a sign that his attack had landed, and with a cold sneer, he continued, some people are born princesses, while others, no matter how hard they try, remain shadowy maids. If I were you, I'd slink away right now and leave everything here for Ruoruo. What are you standing there for? Get on Weibo and make a public apology to Ruoruo right now, or don't blame me for what happens next. But the very next second, I raised my hand and slapped Xue Chen hard across the face. I hit him with such force that his head snapped to the side. His eyes widened, instantly bloodshot with red veins. Meng Weiwei, how dare you hit someone? Qin Ruoruo let out a shriek, immediately backing up 2 steps as she fumbled to pull out her phone to record. But I was quicker, swatting her phone away first, then swinging my suitcase to knock both of them aside. I vented my pent-up fury like a madwoman, smashing anything within reach. I wasn't planning on keeping any of it anyway. If you like my stuff so much, I'll just give it all to you. The area was in complete disarray, with shattered objects scattered everywhere. Everything within sight had been smashed by me. I opened the door and strode out of the tiny apartment where I'd lived for 3 years. 5. I called my mom. We hadn't spoken in years. Yet she picked up the phone the instant it rang. In that moment, tears began to stream down my face uncontrollably. In my past life, from the day I stormed out after graduation until the day I was killed, I never got to say another word to my mother. I can't bear to imagine how devastated she would be upon hearing of my death this time. I just want to be Mom's little useless sweetheart. Just get home, that's all that matters. My mom's voice kept trembling, and by the end, all she could do was repeat those 4 words over and over. Soon after, I boarded the flight back to Shanghai. Before takeoff, I glanced at Weibo and saw that Qin Ruoro had posted another insincere message. Sorry everyone, I'm going to take a break from writing for a while. Recent events have left me feeling a bit overwhelmed. Meng Weiwei is also a senior colleague I've always deeply respected. I need to take some time off to properly collect myself. Li Fei, my editor who had once shown me such immense care and concern, quickly reposted this Weibo. Dear readers, please give Ruoro a little more time to deliver a better work. We'll be hosting a fan meet and greet event in Shanghai next month, and everyone is welcome to join us. It's clear they're trying to mold Qin Ruoro into a trending, commercially driven author. I let out a sigh, powered off my phone, and drifted into a deep sleep. By the time I disembarked, my mother was already waiting for me, having brought the driver and bodyguards in the Rolls Royce. She said she'd heard about my situation and was planning to enlist friends to handle the PR fallout while also reaching out to lawyers to file a lawsuit. We will get to the bottom of this. I will never allow my precious daughter to suffer any injustice. I lay in my mother's arms, her hand gently stroking my back, her chin softly resting on my forehead. The car was filled with an array of exquisite dishes. Along with my favorite drink from the past, my mom started preparing as soon as she got my call. Afraid I might be hungry, I hugged my mother tightly. Don't worry, Mom, it's not worth all the trouble, I said with a smile. Soon, the real plagiarist will reap what they've sown. 6. Moving back into our big villa feels absolutely amazing. No need to get up early to buy groceries and prepare 3 meals a day, and the laundry takes care of itself. My bank account is overflowing with zeros, and I never have to worry about rent or bills again. My mom set aside a study just for me. It has walls of books and a top-of-the-line computer, enabling me to do whatever I want. I wake up early every day to bask in the sunlight by the floor-to-ceiling windows, do some yoga and skincare, and enjoy a lavish Manchuhan imperial feast for lunch. Afternoon shopping and tea, followed by trying equestrian, yoga, and golf. I'd unwind with a glass of red wine in the evening, soaking in a spacious bathtub before being lulled to sleep by a sound therapist my mother specially hired. Both my physical fitness and mental state have improved tremendously, reaching a whole new level compared to before. However, at the same time, as Qin Ruoro's prolonged hiatus continued, murmurs of discontent began to surface online. People started to raise questions. Will Qin Ruoro actually write anything at all? Could it be that what Meng Weiwei said back then was actually true? There's no reason to go silent for so long during such a hot moment. Zero professionalism. Are you just messing with us? Give us our money back now. Qin Ruoro was getting anxious too. Logging onto Weibo more and more often. I know her type all too well. She's coasted by on her looks since she was young, always relying on men. She's never had any real substance. Getting her to write a few words would be harder than killing her. Besides, my book is entirely based on my own real-life experiences, recounting how I once had an unrequited crush on a senior. Even if Xuechen understands me better than anyone, he can only recount isolated incidents to Qin Ruoro. So, under the mounting pressure, Qin Ruoro gritted her teeth and wrote a chapter with Xuechen's guidance. The plummeting metrics and torrent of scathing comments quickly forced her to take it down, so she once again played the victim on Weibo, claiming she was ill and undergoing surgery, and was truly powerless to do anything. But she also gave her word that she would deliver a work at the offline meetup that would satisfy everyone. That day, while I was browsing at Hermes, pondering which bag would go with my new outfit, my editor Li Fei suddenly messaged saying she wanted to see me. Vivi, I see your IP address is in Shanghai. It just so happens I'm here on a business trip. Let's have a proper chat. There are some things. Perhaps I misunderstood you. My heart skipped a beat. 7. I had thought I'd be met with vindication. Little did I expect that Li Fei had come to persuade me to continue helping Qin Ruoro finish her work. In the coffee shop, Li Fei gave my new Chanel outfit a once-over and let out a faint, dismissive chuckle. Name your price, Weiwei. I know your family is struggling. How much will it take for you to keep writing? Qin Ruoro is our website's golden goose now. She's already generated massive profits for us. The site will absolutely protect her. In those few minutes of silence, it felt like an eternity had passed. Your pen name is already deactivated. Your former readers are gone. Besides, you only made it big in the first place because the site put in the effort to promote you. Li Fei pushed her coffee cup aside and leaned forward. 500,000, that's enough to trade your current outfit for the real deal, and it'll help you keep doing what you want to do. Seeing the meaningful look in her eyes, my face fell completely. What kind of person does Li Fei think I am? What does she even think I'm doing here in Shanghai? Fine, I forced the word out through gritted teeth. No problem, I've already outlined it. Just give me 3 days, and I'll finish the remaining 100,000 words for you. Li Fei stood up excitedly. Great, it's a deal then. I'll be waiting for you right here in 3 days. I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. I turned on my computer as soon as I got back and started writing based on the outline I'd sketched in my notebook. Maybe it's because of the rest I took recently, but I'm feeling incredibly inspired and full of energy. 3 days later, I handed her the manuscript with dark circles under my eyes. Li Fei was overjoyed, yet she remained cautious and first reviewed the draft in front of me. Only after confirming there were no issues did he let out a sigh of relief, transferred the 500,000 to me on the spot, and signed a confidentiality agreement. But Li Fei was unaware of this. Once these drafts are uploaded to the website, the formatting won't be the same as it is now. At that point, within a few lines in the middle, the first letters will spell out a sentence. Qin Ruoruo is the real plagiarist. 8. With the manuscript in hand, Qin Ruoruo seemed to get a new lease on life overnight, even daring to clap back at her haters directly. She posted the document's word count and lashed out, I will never churn out low-quality work just for clicks. I'm committed to creating masterpieces, works I can be proud of. This bold declaration won her even more favor, with the entire forum singing her praises. I scrolled through her comment section, and one user named Guardian of Ruoh for Life particularly stood out. This user's Weibo feed is exclusively about Qin Ruoruo. It chronicled countless round-trip tickets over 3 years, and a long list of the girl's preferences painstakingly observed and recorded. From his profile picture history, I realized he was Xue Chen. It was only then that I realized his confession to me at graduation was just to get a rise out of Qin Ruoruo. Soon, Qin Ruoruo's fan meeting was upon us. She had announced in advance that she would upload the entire remaining content of the book live on-site, giving readers the ultimate binge reading experience. This was incredibly enticing, so on the day of the meet and greet, the entire hall was packed to the rafters. Passers-by who didn't know better would have thought a major celebrity had arrived. Readers held up their homemade fan signs, their cheers practically shaking the heavens. Oh my god, Ruoruo is absolutely stunning in person, a goddess with so much talent and this beautiful. Save some perfection for the rest of us. I love your book so much. Could I please get your autograph? I'm freaking out. When is it being published? I'm buying 10 copies to treasure forever. Hey, stop pushing, you're blocking my way. Qin Ruoruo answered the reader's questions exactly as Xue Chen had taught her. Of course, my senior was brilliant. He went abroad right after graduation. He's the unattainable crush from my youth. I only dared to walk past his classroom on purpose after class. He was always standing in the hallway, chatting and laughing with people. I always looked forward to the group runs during the break and eating in the cafeteria, because it gave me a legitimate excuse to be close to him. Back then, I even bought a QQ VIP membership just to secretly browse his profile. Whenever I saw him in person, I was too nervous to even look up, so I'd put on this cold, aloof act. Haha, to this day, he probably has no idea I ever had a crush on him. Qin Ruoruo spoke with a shy, bashful expression, just like a schoolgirl secretly pining for her crush. When recalling certain moments, her eyes would lower, as if she were reliving the bittersweet pangs of that secret admiration. The moment we've all been waiting for has finally arrived. The large screen displayed the remaining manuscript of Qin Ruoruo's book. The long-anticipated book has finally come to a close. Readers also took out their phones, opened Qin Ruoruo's book, and began tipping and sending virtual tickets. The room filled with sighs of admiration, with everyone agreeing it was a masterpiece. The latter part was even more heart-wrenching than the beginning. Sobs began to rise gradually. It wasn't until someone sharp-eyed spotted something was off. Wait, what does this third page of chapter 98 mean? When I read the opening lines together, it sounds like Qin Ruoruo is the one who plagiarized. The entire room erupted in an uproar. Someone immediately chimed in, holy crap, it's true. I was wondering why a character named Qin suddenly appeared. Could it be the real author of this book is someone else? Oh my god, what kind of supernatural event is this? Or is the original author hinting at the truth in a cryptic way? Have we all been deceived this whole time? Chaos broke out on the scene. The staff quickly pulled down and removed the new chapter, but many people had already seen it. The book fans were outraged. clamoring for Chin Ruoro to give them an explanation. She reacted quickly enough, immediately shrieking, "Preposterous! This is utterly preposterous, absolutely impossible, this is my original work, someone has tampered with my manuscript, who touched my computer, it wasn't like this at all." But immediately, some readers shot back, "Who could even get to your computer? You always carry it around, right? And you're telling me it just so happened to be tampered with today? Prove yourself by writing a side story on the spot. If the tone and plot flow consistently, we'll believe you." "Exactly. Hurry up and write it now, you're always talking about giving back to your readers." Surely a little side story won't be too much to ask. Faced with the swarm of microphones thrust toward her, Chin Ruoro clutched her chest, feigning a sudden heart attack. She took a couple of ragged breaths, closed her eyes, and slumped down lifelessly. The whole venue descended into chaos, with many fans rushing onto the stage demanding staff restore the deleted chapters. Xuechen immediately rushed from the crowd, scooping her up into his arms, his eyes wide with fury. He roared for a doctor. He rushed out and just happened to brush past me, standing at the outermost edge. The crowd was in an uproar, everyone surging towards the stage to get a clear look at the words on the big screen. Chin Ruoro herself, however, had completely faded from the reader's attention. "Meng Weiwei, how dare you show your face here? You must be behind all of this today." Xuechen's face was terrifyingly dark, and the look he gave me was one of pure, murderous hatred. "You're jealous that Ruoro has my affection. So you've always had it in for her, I know that, but the stunt you pulled today, that's a new low. You just can't stand to see someone I care about happy, can you? You're hellbent on ruining her, you bitch. You just wait, if anything happens to Ruoro today, I swear I'll end you." He roared at me, every bit the general enraged for his beloved. Just as Xuechen was about to shove past my shoulder to rush out, I spoke up, my voice light and airy. "Xuechen, do you really think the only reason I'm with you is because I like you?" He paused mid-step, turned around with every muscle tense. "You know, the person I had a crush on went abroad right after college. The reason I accepted your confession was partly to heal from that heartbreak, and partly," I smiled and pointed at his nose, "there's a little mole here, just like his. Too bad, though, stand-ins can never truly compare to the original." 9. After Chin Ruoro's latest fiasco, the website's original plan to boost traffic by successfully building her personal brand through the event ended up in total failure, backfiring with a flood of public criticism and skepticism. People are starting to dig up my past dispute with Chin Ruoro and calling on the site's official team. Meng Weiwei has been writing books for years and has consistently ranked at the top. For someone like her to be accused of plagiarism, I was skeptical from the start. It was only because your authorities strongly backed Chin Ruoro that we decided to believe Chin Ruoro's remarks at the fan meeting were utterly incoherent and unimpressive, except for her answers to those few questions about secret crushes. But who can really be sure those weren't just pre-written talking points? I saw that article she posted and quickly deleted a while back. It was so childish and poorly written, like something a grade schooler would produce. Is that really her actual skill level? I've never seen a site like this before, twisting right and wrong just for clicks. Give me my money back. If I ever top up again, I'm a dog. You guys are the absolute worst, driving away your own veteran master for some copycat plagiarist. You reap what you sow. However, some netizens are willing to let things play out and see what happens. The only way to prove Chin Ruoro's innocence now is for her to write live in front of everyone, otherwise, she's just a dirty plagiarist. But Chin Ruoro's plan all along was to use this book to generate enough traffic to pivot to a career as a social media influencer. She never put in any real effort from start to finish. She keeps posting one polished photo after another on Weibo, more focused on the compliments about her beauty. Now the website has figured out what's going on, but it can't escape the plummeting market value, suffering severe backlash from its traffic. Enraged, the boss fired Li Fei on the spot and took Chin Ruoro to various drinking parties, begging people for help. I heard Chin Ruoro was dressed up like a colorful butterfly. The reasons behind it are hard to judge. This website is just making one last desperate attempt. My mother knows everyone in Shanghai's social circles, and she's already told all her friends to give me the cold shoulder. And today, unfortunately, the person the executive reached out to happened to be my mom. I almost burst out laughing when my mom showed me the invitation message from the other party. Sweetheart, enough of this game. How about I just turn him down flat and call our lawyer to file a lawsuit? I stopped her with a laugh. It's fine, Mom. Tell him to send Chin Ruoro to this dinner. I haven't had a proper chat with her in ages. 10. A few days later, Qin Ruoro appeared in the hotel lobby, dressed with care, and Xuechen followed along, posing as her assistant. I was feeding the little fish by the rockery in the main hall when I heard a sharp shout from afar, "Meng Weiwei." Xuechen strode over first and grabbed my arm. "Why are you haunting me again? How did you even find this place?" His grip was painfully tight, so I didn't hesitate to slap his hand away. "Get your filthy hands off me. What, do you own this place? Am I not allowed to be here? Meng Weiwei, do you have any idea this hotel costs 8,888 per person? You think you belong here?" Qin Ruoro tore off all pretense, glaring at me with pure venom. "You're destined to live in rented rooms, your boyfriend doesn't love you, and you don't deserve anything good in this life." She spared no effort in attacking me, thinking these words would cause me pain, yet I simply uttered a single, offhand remark, "Be that as it may, I'm here today as a guest, and was someone actually kind enough to invite you to dinner?" "You?" Qin Ruoro was suddenly taken aback, her chest heaving with anger as she struggled to calm herself before forcing a cold smile. "A guest? Looks like you've come to Shanghai to be some rich man's mistress. How did they let someone like you into such a high-class place? LOL. Do you even know who I'm meeting today?" "The Miss Feng Zhao. If you're that clueless, go look her up. I bet your sugar daddy isn't fit to lick her boots." Xuechen immediately joined forces with Qin Ruoro in shared indignation. "Exactly, Meng Weiwei, don't get too big for your boots. Just wait until you're used up and thrown out on the street. You'll get what's coming to you." I stared at him with a completely expressionless face. I'm taking note of every single word Xuechen is saying right now. Today, I'm making sure he doesn't leave this place in one piece. What happened next quickly left the two of them utterly dumbfounded. Mom walked in shortly after, striding in with several assistants at her side, all business and efficiency. "Oh, Ms. Feng, I'm Ruoro. It's such an honor to finally meet you." Qin Ruoro immediately fawned over her and stepped forward to introduce herself, but my mother didn't even glance her way. She walked straight up to me, took my hand, and gently rubbed it in hers, asking with tender care, "Are you cold? What are you doing standing at the door? Come on in and order. This is your favorite place, isn't it?" Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Qin Ruoro's expression freeze. "Ms. Feng," I said, deliberately mimicking Qin Ruoro's tone, "please go in first, I'll be right there." My mother understood my meaning. She nodded and specifically arranged for 2 bodyguards to stay with me before heading upstairs. "What's going on here?" Qin Ruoro immediately turned to Xuechen. "Why does she seem so close to Feng Zhao? Could Feng Zhao be her mother?" Xuechen frowned and immediately denied it. "How could that be? Look at how shabby Meng Weiwei is. Does she look like some rich heiress? I've heard some wealthy older women have rather peculiar tastes. Maybe Feng Zhao, as she got older." Before Xuechen could finish speaking, I'd already signaled my bodyguards with a look to haul him aside and deal with him. "What are you doing? Beating someone in broad daylight?" "I'm calling the police. Help, someone. Help me." Xuechen was dragged out like a chick by the scruff, and he quickly became terrified, his voice trembling. "I'm here to see someone very important. If you treat me like this, she will not let you get away with it." Yet the well-trained bodyguards turned a deaf ear to it, punching him where it hurts most, delivering a powerful blow to silence his mouth, spreading rumors and spewing obscenities. Xuechen was quickly beaten until blood seeped from the corner of his mouth. He lay on the ground, barely alive, like a dead dog. Qin Ruoro glanced at him with disgust and immediately turned her face away. In her eyes, this guy was nothing more than a disposable simp. She had never harbored the slightest affection for Xuechen. "Who do you think you are, trying to latch onto a sugar mommy? Meng Weiwei, I never would have guessed you had it in you. So you're just relying on playing the victim and putting on a pitiful act. Is that it?" Seeing my mother appear at the top of the stairs, Qin Ruoro seized the moment. She grabbed my hand and used it to slap herself hard across the face. Then I rushed to my mom crying and shouted, "Ms. Feng, please help me. Meng Weiwei not only plagiarized my work before, but now she's threatening me and even trying to attack me. Please, I need your help." 11. The entire hall echoed with Qin Ruoro's heart-wrenching sobs. With her hair disheveled and face deathly pale, her act was so convincing it could stir a protective instinct in anyone who saw her. But before she could even grab my mother's hand, the bodyguard mercilessly shoved her away. Qin Ruoro couldn't stop her momentum in time and tumbled to the ground. "Mrs. Feng, I beg you to stand up for me. That Meng Weiwei is truly despicable. She's nothing like the innocent girl she appears to be. In private, she's actually..." "Silence," my mom snapped at me. and I'd never seen her look so terrifying. She glared at Chin Ruoruo, a tempest raging in her eyes. So you're Chin Ruoruo after all, Chin. Ruoruo's breath hitched in fear, but she stubbornly tried one more time, her voice barely a whisper. It's me, ma'am, please don't believe what you read online. I was framed. My mother let out a cold laugh. Do you know what Meng Weiwei's relationship to me is? Chin Ruoruo's expression froze. At the same time, the website's boss suddenly appeared at the hotel entrance. He had clearly rushed over in a hurry, sweating profusely. His legs trembling, he stumbled in, his voice even more pitiful than crying. I'm so sorry, Ms. Feng. I had no idea Vivian was your daughter. We deeply apologize for any offense we caused. 12 At the end of the day, the boss threatened to impose an astronomical penalty for breach of contract, forcing Chin Ruoruo to kneel and apologize to me. Chin Ruoruo was filled with resentment, but the boss simply grabbed her and slammed her head into the ground. So it was you all along. You little snake. I couldn't figure out how a veteran star author like Weiwei could get dragged into this mess, the CEO snarled, his eyes darting around while his jaw clenched. You shameless hack, too talentless to write your own work, so you steal from others, and to think I trusted you. I was a fool, you played us all for fools. His rage boiled over, he grabbed Chin Ruoruo by the hair and slapped her hard across the face. Twice. Chin Ruoruo's cheek immediately swelled, she couldn't hold back any longer and broke down into loud, wrenching sobs. The CEO immediately cursed at her. How dare you cry? You had the guts to do it but not to face the consequences. You've tarnished our site's reputation. Who's going to invest in us now? You're the one rotten apple that spoils the whole barrel. If you can't handle the heat, stay out of the kitchen. And you even had the gall to frame someone else. I must have been blind to have ever supported an author like you. I just watched them fight like dogs, a cold smile on my face. I haven't forgotten what Li Fei did to me on behalf of the website. Now he thinks he can just walk away clean. Not a chance. How dare you show your face here? Get on Weibo and post a public apology to me right now. It was clear the boss had come prepared. He had pre-written a statement and forced Chin Ruoruo to post it on Weibo. It demanded she admit to plagiarizing my work and issue a public apology to me. The post immediately went viral, quickly topping the trending charts. When the speculated truth was finally confirmed, netizens were filled with grief, indignation, and profound regret. It was us who drove away a good author who poured her heart into her writing. The hashtags #apologize to Meng Weiwei and #bring Meng Weiwei home began trending. The forum square was filled with my former readers, weeping as they reminisced about the early days when they first started following my serialized story. Vivi is truly amazing, updating 3 chapters every single day without fail, rain or shine. I was just in elementary school back then, and now I'm almost graduating from high school. I've read every single one of her books. I never believed she plagiarized or hired any ghostwriter. It's really tough. Since she stopped writing, there's been nothing else like it online. My literary sustenance is gone. Vivi, please come back soon. I've saved up so many monthly passes for you. They're all yours. The boss handed the phone to my mom like he was presenting a precious treasure, expecting her to drop the matter and help him make a comeback. Yet, faced with the boss's calculating gaze, my mother simply tossed out a cold remark. We've already got all the evidence ready. Your website and this girl are in for a lawsuit. 13 Not only was Chin Ruoruo utterly disgraced, but fans also compiled and shared the story between Xue Chen and me. It turns out Xue Chen had been pursuing Chin Ruoruo for years, willing to do anything for the goddess he loved. It was he who masterminded this plagiarism scandal, pulling a classic switcheroo. Damn, this guy's such a scumbag, cheating on his girlfriend while still clinging to her. I thought he was doing the right thing by exposing his own friend, but turns out he was helping his ex-crush hurt his own girlfriend. What the hell is wrong with him? He's worse than an animal, living off his girlfriend while screwing her over. Totally disgusting. May this disgusting couple die a horrible death together. Never have I seen such repulsive people. Girls, I actually found this scumbag's secret Weibo account too. He's really been betraying us from the inside all along. The online harassment and doxing I suffered in my past life have now come back to haunt Chin Ruoruo and Xue Chen with even greater intensity, and because they had posted too many Weibo updates, their exact location was easily pinpointed. Xue Chen had already been hospitalized, only to be visited every day in various ways by indignant and overzealous citizens. He soon couldn't bear the burden and discharged himself from the hospital. He realized chasing after his unattainable ideal would get him nowhere, and he tried several times to reach out to me, hoping we could get back together. How could angry netizens possibly give him a chance to catch his breath? Bankrupt and broken, he fled back to his hometown in disgrace after paying off the compensation, his body racked with illness. As for Chin Ruoruo, her situation was far more dire. She was caught in a perfect storm, fighting a lawsuit, facing a crippling compensation demand from the website, and enduring an overwhelming wave of online abuse. The pressure soon became too much, and her mental health began to unravel. Late one night, seeing the red paint splattered across her door once more, she completely broke down and jumped from the building. At that time, upon learning of this, I was in the midst of preparing a new website with my mother. We wanted to give every young person passionate about creation an equal opportunity here. Everyone can freely unleash their imagination and write the stories they want to tell. Let 100 flowers bloom, and let 100 voices speak freely. I believe this is what literary creation should truly be like. The end. That's all for the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more exciting. Barely a year into our marriage, Song Chuan struck me deaf in one ear. I fled to my hometown, determined to find a way to divorce him. My mother, however, tried to talk me out of it. How could it be that serious? He's not a madman. And where would you live if you left him? I argued back. Don't you worry, I'd rather die than end up back under your roof. Those words came back to haunt me. She brought Song Chuan right to me, urging me to go back and make the marriage work. That night was the Mid-Autumn Festival, and I was locked in a room and beaten to death with a steel rod by him. Waking up again, I found myself back in the summer vacation after the high school entrance exam. I woke up feeling burning hot all over. A few gusts of cool air blew in through the tattered window, clearing my head a little. I fumbled my way up and grabbed the old, frayed rope dangling from the light switch. The room glowed with an orange hue, and as I gazed at the dilapidated space before me, the red bricks on the walls confirmed that I had truly returned to the past. It was a special day, the night after the high school entrance exam, when torrential rain poured down, and my mom sent me out to look for our lost sheep. The sheep were found, but I ended up running a high fever and didn't see a doctor until the afternoon of the next day. I took some medicine and kept putting it off until I developed a severe case of otitis media. I've always had issues with my ears, and when Song Chuan hit me, he'd often slap me across the face. It was the final straw that made me lose hearing in one ear. I touched my ears and forehead, now burning hot, and woke up my grandmother, who was sleeping beside me and had already been awake. Yes, I know she's awake, and she knows I have a fever, but she's pretending to be asleep because she's worried about the cost and the hassle. Grandma, my head feels so hot. Am I going to die? I cried loudly on purpose. In my past life, what I thought was my sensible obedience only earned me their relentless trampling, because with people who don't care about you, the more sensible you are, the more they take you for granted, and my very birth was a mistake. My father had cerebral palsy, only one side of his body could move. Everyone in the village called him half-side Chen. From the moment he was born, Dad was cared for by Grandma, and aside from her, he only had one older sister. Grandma was always worried about what would happen to Dad after she was gone. At first, she turned to her sister, but she said she had her own family and couldn't possibly take care of him forever. Then they came up with a solution: have someone give Dad a child, so there will be someone to take care of him. After searching for a long time, they finally found their mother, who had lost her husband. At that time, she was taking care of Suing, who was seriously ill and needed surgery, and so the deal was struck. I was born. When I was born, Grandma cried for days, blaming my mom for spending her life savings on my birth but not even giving her a grandson. It's said that at the time, Mother didn't even look at me and said, "Well, I've already had the child. If it doesn't work out, I'll just take my own daughter and leave." The one phrase I heard most often when I was little was, "Chen Yen, your dad only has you. If you don't take good care of him, heaven will strike you down with lightning." So from a very young age, I had to climb onto the stove on a stool to learn how to cook, often getting my hands blistered from splashing oil. At times like that, Dad would praise me by saying, "Good thing I didn't give birth to you in vain." I had to prove through countless actions that it was worth it for them to have given birth to me, that it was a worthwhile investment, that I was a profitable child. But Suing doesn't have to. Because her mom said Suing already had it hard enough losing her biological father. She said if it weren't for saving Suing, how could she ever have had a child with a man like my father? As she spoke, her eyes were filled with disgust when she looked at me. At that moment, I could only lower my head in shame, my heart aching terribly, both from the pain of her disgust toward me and the guilt of feeling I had ruined her. But they can make choices here. Can I really choose not to be born? But no. One would feel sorry for me. They just found the perfect punching bag. Raising me was just like raising lambs or piglets for profit. Naturally, the lower the cost, the better. So I've got a fever, and as long as I'm not dying, I'm supposed to tough it out by default. This time, I didn't hold back. I don't need their praise anymore. If no one cares for me, then I'll care for myself. My crying woke up my parents, and Suing, who had her own room. Mom pushed the door open, her face full of impatience, and scolded, "What are you wailing about? It's the middle of the night. If you don't sleep, nobody gets to sleep." She was just as cold and disdainful toward me as ever, but unlike before, I didn't feel sad anymore, just numb. I kept thinking one thing: I had to see a doctor and get my ears fixed. I want to be a healthy person. I really feel awful from this fever. Mom, can you go to the doctor with me? I had no money on me, so I had no choice but to beg her. You're acting this way just because you got a little wet in the rain. What else are you good for? Born with a lady's body but a maid's fate. Do you really think you'll die if you skip going to see her today? She stood right there in the doorway, venting her fury at me, using her insults as an outlet for all her resentment toward this already filthy, crumbling home. I stood frozen in place, listening to her sharp voice as if I were not her daughter, but her enemy. So it turns out that even if I had asked them for help, it wouldn't have made a difference. The room was dimly lit, thunder rumbled outside, and the rain had started again. My vision was already growing hazy from the fever. I remembered the chronic otitis media that had plagued me for years, the constant discharge of yellowish fluid, the inflammation, the muffled hearing, and that foul, rotting stench. No, I couldn't let myself fall ill like that again. I got up, pulled on my coat, and fumbled under the bed for an umbrella. He pushed her aside and walked out. "Where are you going? Don't you care about me as your mom anymore? I need to see a doctor. My ear is burning uncomfortably." I opened my umbrella and walked toward the door. "Well, Mr. Chen, look at this. This is your precious daughter putting on such an act. Do you really think I've mistreated her?" I didn't listen any further. Graves occasionally appeared along the mountain path. People usually don't come out at night, afraid of ghosts and such, but now I feel as if the demons and hell are right behind me. I ran without stopping, falling a few times along the way. Each time my knees hit the ground, the sharp, piercing pain was a brutal reminder. This was real. I had truly gone back to the past. Honestly, when I died, I didn't have any regrets about my life. If I could choose again, I'd definitely pick a normal family with loving parents and live a regular life. But fate brought me back, giving me a second chance. Why can't I treat myself right this time? I knocked on the door of Dr. Zhang's pharmacy in town. "Please ask him to let me see the doctor first, and I'll pay off the bill within a week." He looked at me, drenched from head to toe, then got up and called for his wife. His wife found me some clean clothes, poured me a cup of hot water, and then asked me if I was hungry. While Dr. Zhang was getting my prescription, as he spoke, he made me a bowl of hot noodle soup. It's strange, I should be emotionally resilient by now. I really shouldn't be this upset yet. A simple bowl of steaming noodles was all it took to bring me to the verge of tears, but I held it back. I finished the noodles quickly. Dr. Zhang prescribed some medicine and gave me an injection, and I kept pressing him for reassurance about my ear. He examined me carefully, told me it was only a minor infection, and then prescribed some medication. Only then did my anxious heart finally find peace. I stood up, bowed to the couple, and turned to leave. Outside, the wind and rain still raged, but I wasn't as afraid anymore. But Dr. Zhang's wife stopped me and had a room prepared, insisting I stay overnight and go back only after dawn. She said, "It's not safe for a girl to be out alone at night." It must have been too long since I last encountered any kindness, because I couldn't help but feel my eyes well up. Early the next morning, after cleaning the pharmacy, I headed home. As soon as I opened the door, I found the whole family sitting down for a meal. My mother gave me an icy stare and said, "So you decided to come back? I thought you'd died out there." Staring at her face, both strange and familiar, I couldn't help but wonder if she secretly wished I'd die out there. No, if I were gone, where would she find a free slave and punching bag? In a past life, I might have just bowed my head and let her vent, but on what grounds? I never chose to be born, and she already killed me once. I looked up, meeting her gaze directly, and said, "So you want me to die out there?" Then, she picked up the bowl and hurled it straight at me. This time, I didn't dodge. It struck my forehead, and blood streamed down. I did it on purpose, because in the past, whenever I did the slightest thing to displease her, she would threaten me, saying, "Go ahead, make a scene, just wait until I divorce your father, you'll see how well things go for you then." Back then, I was always terrified of those things, I was afraid of their fights at home, afraid they would get a divorce. I endured, compromised, and gave in on so many things. When we went out together, I was the one carrying all the bags, yet, Mom would only buy ice cream for Suing, and drinks too. She'd say she didn't have enough money and promised to get me something next time, but I never got that next time, and even her dismissive words were spoken with impatience. Most of the household chores fell to me as well, herding sheep, working the fields, cutting millet, and harvesting wheat. Mom said Suing needs to focus on her studies, and once she's done well, she can teach me. She said I'm Dad's child, so naturally, I should be the one to help him. I don't have time for homework. I'm so exhausted every day I feel like dying. My palms had been calloused since I was young. I didn't do well on the high school entrance exam and only got into the second to last ranked high school in the county back then. They said further schooling was pointless, and it would be better to go work and earn some money. Suing was attending the county's second high school at the time and needed extra tutoring, which cost money. So, they arranged for me to work in a factory, where I had to pull night shifts for nearly half of every month. I sent most of the money I earned back home. Back then, Dad would call me often, saying he didn't know how to go on living like that, and that I was all he had left. Mom would say, after all I went through to bring you into this world, is your father the only one on your mind? So after working for 8 years, I only managed to save a few 10,000 yuan, and I even used some to help them build a house. Then later, my mom set me up with this so-called great match, Song Chuan. I envied him for going to college, harboring an unconscious reverence for academic credentials. I thought to myself, how could someone with a university education ever be interested in someone like me, who didn't even finish high school? So when he said he wanted to marry me, I was actually flattered and felt incredibly honored. Looking back now, I guess his reputation was already in tatters because of his violent tendencies. And that's why he turned to me. Only a girl like me, with nowhere else to turn, would be an easy target for him. My whole life has been so absurd, a complete joke from start to finish. So now I'm deliberately provoking my mom. Why should I be the only one bearing this burden? Everyone in this family resents each other. Why should I carry it all alone? Blood was streaming into my left eye, but I kept staring at my mom, screaming through tears. So you've always wanted me, Dad? Right. Why do you hate me so much but treat Suing so well? Why didn't you just kill me? What was the point of giving birth to me? 2. My first act of defiance brought a brief, heavy silence to the house. Then came my mother's tearful outburst, pounding the table. I gave birth to you. Is that my crime? I brought you into this world, and this is how you repay me. My sister, Suing, stood up and said impatiently, enough of this noise. I'm going to study. Do whatever you want. Mother glanced at her, reined herself in a little, and then turned an even more hateful gaze toward me. Grandma dragged me into the room, pulled out some amoxicillin capsules from the cabinet, opened them, and sprinkled the white powder directly onto the wound. You too, you know exactly how your mother is. Why pick a fight with her? Your father went through a lot to finally find a wife. Can't you be a little more understanding? I said nothing. Meeting her clouded gaze, she instinctively averted her gaze from mine. Only after she had left the room did my mother finally come in. For the first time, she was holding a carton of milk and a bag of bread. Usually, these things were for Suing, because she was in high school and needed the brain fuel. I wasn't considered worthy of having any. I gave birth to you. Do you really think I don't want what's best for you? It's just, you know how things are with our family. If others don't understand me, surely you do. I didn't answer her. I just kept looking at her. She finally ran out of words, revealing her true colors. Avoiding my gaze, they said, you know, with grades like that, there's no point in continuing. I've supported you all these years. It's time you went out and got a job. I pushed the milk and bread into her hands and said firmly, I'm going to repeat the year and take the exam again. She paused for a moment, then snapped at me, retake the exams. Who's going to pay for that? Don't you realize you just don't have the talent for it? Why force yourself? I don't want your money. I'll earn it myself. Earn it yourself. Where are you going to earn it? Do you really think you can just do whatever you want? The next day, just like in my previous life, the relative who was taking me to work came to pick me up in a car. I struggled fiercely, begging my dad, Dad, didn't you say you wanted me to take care of you in your old age? Please let me go to school. I promise I'll take care of you. I'm begging you. He glanced at my mom, then at me, turned his head away and sighed. Chen Yen, this is all fate, just accept it. They shoved me into the car, which started moving, and I watched the trees outside grow smaller and smaller. A wave of sadness washed over me. What was the point of being reborn if it was just to repeat the same fate? The relative driving the car kept trying to console me. Studying isn't even guaranteed to help. Look at some college grads. They might not even earn as much as I do. He does make a decent living. I know that if I bring someone to the factory like this, the company will give him half of his salary for the first 3 months. He thought studying was pointless, yet in his past life, he had sent his own son all the way through to graduate school. Memories from 2 lifetimes collided, sparking a surge of strength within me. I'd rather die than live through this life again. I took advantage of his distraction, flung the car door open, and jumped out. Below was a slope, and I tumbled all the way down. Thankfully, the ground at the bottom was soft, but my knee was still scraped. Ignoring the pain, I scrambled to my feet and tried to run. My leap from the car terrified my father. He fumbled with his cane, stumbling toward me in a panic I'd never seen before. He shouted, "Chen Yen, have you lost your mind?" I looked up at him and said, "If you won't let me study, then I don't want it anymore." 3. That was the first time someone as timid as my dad had ever snapped at my mom, and he stammered as he spoke, Chen Yen wants to study, so let her. What's the big deal?" My mom was stunned at first, then consumed by rage. She kept pinching him and slapping him, shouting, "Fine, it's all my fault, I'm the sinner, and you're all the saints. If you're such a good person, then go earn some money. You've got the nerve to yell at me, but not the ability to make a dime." I slowly climbed up, took in the whole ridiculous scene, and after a pause, shouted, "I'll earn it myself, I'll make my own money. Is it okay if I don't use the family's?" Perhaps it was because there were outsiders present, or maybe for some other reason. This time, she finally gave in a little and said, "Fine, figure it out yourself, and don't come looking for me when the time comes. That relative is finally gone, and I still have the whole summer ahead of me. Make money, no matter the cost. I have my own 2 hands and feet, and I will carve out my own path. With just over 2 months until school starts, I need to save up enough for tuition, books, and living expenses. It seems like an impossible task, but I still want to give it a try. About 5 or 6 kilometers from my hometown, there's a scenic spot called Yunshan Mountain, where many people come specifically to watch the sunrise. With the weather being this hot, there will definitely be a lot of people wanting to buy cold drinks and water on their way down the mountain. I went to ask Grandma for the old insulated backpack we used to sell ice cream from door to door. It had 2 layers to keep things cold. My mom overheard and came over, scolding me. "Where do you think you'll get the money to buy stock? Times are so hard for this family, and you want to waste what little we have on this? You're just dreaming." Grandma avoided my gaze and sighed, "Child, this is just our fate. You have to accept it." If this was to be my fate, I'd rather it had never begun at all. I didn't argue with them. I just took that thick green backpack. So, first thing in the morning, I went into town and sold the only thing I had that was worth any money, my hair. I was quite good at it by then, having done it a few times before with my mother. Back then, my reward would be an ice cream or a lollipop. In those days, I felt useful because my hair could be turned into cash. I wished for it to grow faster every single day, even fantasizing about being able to sell it daily. As I got older, I was inevitably teased for my patchy, uneven boyish haircut. Suing had also considered selling her hair, but her mother was strongly against it, saying that as Suing grew up, a girl needed to maintain some dignity in this household. I was the one who needed such things the least. As long as no one hit me or yelled at me, I was perfectly content. Thankfully, my hair had grown out a bit more this time. Otherwise, I truly wouldn't have known how to get the money. I made over $100 selling hair, enough for my next batch of stock, and since I was worried it wouldn't sell, I didn't take too much the first time. Every morning, I head out with my basket to stock up on goods, then go straight from the shop to the foot of the mountain. Tourists here are generally nice and often take care of my business since they see I'm a kid. I usually bring 2 steamed buns, sell ice cream from noon till afternoon, and when it starts getting dark and most tourists have left, I head to the nearby stream to catch crabs and crawfish. At first, we didn't have much experience and couldn't catch much, but during this season, we could sell the crawfish for over 10 yuan a pound at nearby farm stays. After selling ice cream for a while, I'd managed to save up a bit of money. Figuring you can't catch a wolf without risking the lamb, I bought a few lobster traps. Every morning, I'd head to the nearby fish market early to collect fish gills and guts, drop them into the traps, and then check the traps again in the evening after I'd finished selling ice cream for the day. On a good day, I could make over 100 yuan just selling crawfish, crabs, loaches, eels, and the like. I'm starting to look forward to the days ahead. I can support myself and pay for my own education. What a wonderful thing this is. I want to study. I want to go out into the world. I want to live for myself for once. It's probably because of the incident where I jumped off the moving vehicle. My family has become much more hands-off with me now. In the past, if I had skipped out on farm work, I would have been scolded countless times, but this peaceful life didn't last long. One day, after trying to sell a bit more, the road home was so dark I could barely see my way. To my surprise, my mother had saved some dinner for me. Holding a tube of erythromycin ointment, she stood in the doorway, staring at me and said, "So, you finally decided to come home." I didn't reply to her, just stayed silent. I didn't know what to say. He tossed the ointment at me, saying, "I don't know what you've been up to out there all day, but your face is sunburned to heck. Mom's love comes with a price." Just that for me. She picked the cheapest option. For the first time, she was actually trying to mend things between us, but all I could do was stare at that tube of ointment and feel the bitter irony of it all. Suing had gotten sunburned during military training before, so her mom immediately bought her sunscreen, brought back from the provincial city by someone she knew. She said Suing is a scholar. What if she ruins her complexion in the sun? But my face often peels from sun exposure, and this one tube of erythromycin ointment was earned at that exact cost. I placed the ointment on the table without replying to her. I'm not like I was in my past life. Back then, no matter how much she hurt me, I'd still be unable to let go and end up giving in to her demands whenever she showed even a hint of kindness. I opened the thermos, poured hot water over the cold rice, and wolfed it down with pickled vegetables. My mom muttered awkwardly beside me, "You still know you're hungry. I thought you had more pride." I remained silent, still holding the bowl of cold rice soaked in hot water, chewing in large mouthfuls with a face full of exhaustion. She sighed wearily beside me. "Where is a child like you supposed to get tuition money? Do you think I want this? If only your grades were better. How could I possibly not support your education?" Grades. Every day was nothing but endless farm work and household chores. In middle school, just to help out more at home, I didn't even attend evening self-study sessions. Back then, she would always say, "Your father is like this. Are you trying to work me to death all by myself?" I always gave in to her demands because my heart softened, but all she knew how to do was order me around and make me yield. When I was a child, I once heard her with my own ears. Holding Suing said, "You're all I have left, my child. I must see you through to a better future, for in this family, everyone has someone they rely on. Grandma and Dad, Mom and Suing. I was the only exception. Grandma and Dad resented me for not being a boy, while Mom despised me because I represented the most shameful chapter of her life. So I've decided to support myself. Is that still not good enough?" I set down my chopsticks and looked her straight in the eye. "You never lift a finger to help around here. Are you trying to kill me with work?" She finally said what she'd been holding back. "This is actually a self-proving trap. They used to always say things like that. If you don't send money home, do you want your father and me to just wait here to die?" The truth is, she took the money I sent and gave it to her daughter, but she always pins all the blame on me. "Without me, didn't you still manage to survive?" I looked up at her, locking eyes, and asked, "Fine, you've got too big a head now. What good were you even born for? If I'd known this would happen, I'd have strangled you at birth." I never wanted to be part of their family. As I looked at her, it suddenly came back to me. In my past life, she was the one who brought Song Chuan here. Can't you really see how this ends for me? I suddenly felt a disgust for this kind of conversation, and for my own identity as a child. No matter how hard I struggle to climb, she always tries to pull me back down. I stared at the sickle in the corner and my mother, her face twisted with fury. A thought of ending it all seized me. I rushed over, grabbed the sickle, and pressed its blade against my neck. He thrust the handle into her hand and said, "It's not too late even now. If you hate me so much, why don't you just kill me? Go on, do it, do it, do it." Perhaps that would be my true release, because the rice had been harvested recently. The edge was razor sharp. With just the slightest pressure, my neck began to bleed. My mother was so terrified her hands were trembling, and even the look in her eyes held fear when she gazed at me. The sickle clattered to the ground. Everyone in the room who had been pretending to sleep sat up. My dad was about to yell at me when he saw the blood on my neck. Chen Yen, what on earth are you doing? If something happened to you, what would I do?" Then he turned to my mom and said, "What are you trying to do? Can't you just leave things be?" My mom dropped to the ground, slamming her head into his waist and nearly bringing him down with her, wailing, "Fine, Chen, how dare you insult me? I don't want to live anymore, I don't want to live. I married you, a half-man, half-ghost creature, and this is how you treat me." The room was in complete disarray. Suing opened the door, wanting to say something, but then fell silent, slamming it shut as if venting her frustration. The noise was so loud I thought my eardrums would burst. I picked up the sickle, and everything fell silent at once. "Chen," my father called my name, his voice tinged with fear. I didn't answer him. Instead, I looked straight at my mother and said, word by word, "You're right, you're afraid I'll die too, aren't you? Because if I die, your own daughter will be the one stuck supporting you from now on." My words infuriated her, and she was about to lash out at me again. I ignored her and pressed on. "So, you can't have it all. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Push me too far, and I promise you won't be the only one suffering in the end." 5. I held the sickle and went back into the house, staring blankly at the moonlight outside the window. I don't know how long had passed when Grandma came in with a bowl of sweet egg soup, a spiderweb she'd somehow managed to snag, and 2 amoxicillin pills. She looked at me with a pleading expression and said, "Honey, Grandma knows you're hurting, but what will your dad do if something happens to you? He only has you." Was my father important to me? Was he good to me? In the past, when she said things like that, I would mostly bow my head in self-reproach, filled with guilt. But now, I can't understand it. "If you needed me, why did you have to treat me so harshly?" She was stunned for a moment, then flustered. She said, Your father had no other choice." I didn't argue with her any further. I hastily ate the sweet egg soup and went to bed. I'm exhausted, completely worn out. Life went on as usual. I still went out to earn my keep, but now when I came home at night, there would be a hot meal waiting for me, sometimes even with an egg. And then, for the first time ever, my father sought me out and pressed 100 yuan into my hand. His eyes were a little red as he said, "Your father had no other choice." I'm sorry, I've grown numb to it all. Hearing this doesn't really affect me anymore. I didn't take his money. I used to need it, but not anymore. There's no one I can truly rely on. Thankfully, I still have myself. I was really hopeful at first, but selling these things is so dependent on the weather. Then, the heavens weren't on my side. It rained for days on end. It suddenly came back to me. In my past life, this rain lasted about half a month, but back then, I was stuck in the factory and only got bits and pieces of news from their phone calls. I kept worrying more and more, thinking I couldn't go out to earn money, while my mom and grandma would often try to probe me, asking how much I'd made. I usually reply with, "Not much." "What, have you finally come around to supporting my studies? What kind of books are you even reading with grades like that?" "So, if I get good grades, will mom pay for it? You know perfectly well how difficult things are at home. Are you trying to drive us to ruin?" The conversation didn't go any further. She couldn't even be bothered to humor me. I've managed to save nearly 2,000 recently. This money is my lifeline and my sense of security. I've split it up and hidden it in several places because I don't feel safe in this house. I rarely check on it, for fear they might discover it. One night, I waited until Grandma fell asleep, then quietly crawled under the bed to check some of the money I'd hidden, over 500. Lifting the brick, I only found an empty plastic bag. My blood ran cold in that instant. I sat by the bedside until dawn, and when I got up in the morning, Grandma asked me what was wrong. I just said my money was gone. She quickly distanced herself, saying, "I didn't take yours." Then he seemed to think of something and said, "Forget it. You know as well as I do how things are at home." I didn't reply to her. Outside, a torrential downpour was causing the reservoir to swell, and many people had gone to catch fish. I know a pretty secluded spot where it's easy to catch fish. Bucket in hand, I dashed out into the rain. I spent the whole day fishing in the creek. My feet were soaked and peeling, but at least I made over $200. When I got back, I realized they had been searching everywhere for me. My dad came at me with his cane, shouting, "Where the hell have you been, in this downpour? Weren't you afraid of drowning?" I finally couldn't hold back my emotions and cried out, "Do you think I don't want to die? Do you think I don't want to? Don't you think I want freedom too?" When the villagers learned that the money I had saved up was gone, some of the soft-hearted ones even shed tears. It's laughable. People who aren't even related to me are shedding tears for me. So what exactly is this thing called blood relation? Some of the older women immediately tried to pull money for me, but I refused. Everyone has their struggles and their own families to care for. I walked home barefoot. My mom was out there looking for me too, drenched in the rain. She looked at me. I looked at her. Neither of us said a word. She couldn't hold it back any longer and sank to the floor, weeping. I walked past her without a word. I was so exhausted, I could barely speak. After a shower, I pulled the covers over my head and fell asleep. When I woke up, there were 500 yuan on the bedside table. I looked at it for a moment, then gathered it all together. Every penny is earned through my sweat and hard work, and it's also my hope. Time flew by, and as soon as the new semester started, I headed back to repeat my year with the money I'd earned in my pocket. Time is tight for repeating the year. I don't have extra time to go out and earn money. When school starts, I'll have around 3,000 in hand, but I can't afford to spend it recklessly. I need to save some capital to earn money during the upcoming holidays. All my expenses come out of this, so I usually just eat one meal at the cafeteria. In the mornings, I buy some raw eggs when school starts each week, pour boiling water over them to make egg drop soup, and grab a steamed bun. It's enough to keep me nourished. I'll grab a full meal at lunch with extra rice, and just soak the leftovers in hot water for a quick bite in the afternoon. That way, I can have all 3 meals and won't get sick from skipping food and end up spending more money. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, and it's been a good while since I last cracked open a book, so getting started has been a real struggle. I didn't even score as well on the first mock exam as I had before my rebirth, but this was the only path left for me. I had no choice but to grit my teeth and keep going every day. I was the first to arrive in the classroom. At night, after returning to the dorm, I would study alone in the hallway. Early on, one of my roommates openly mocked me, saying, "I don't get it, you work so hard, so why are your grades still like this?" Words like that really sting, but having lived 2 lifetimes, I knew people like him were just brief passers-by on my journey. I refused to let them affect the course I had charted for myself. I calmly replied, "Mind your own business, help those who help themselves." And I had many classmates willing to explain problems and encourage each other. My grades didn't skyrocket like in the novels I used to read, but they kept getting better each time. By the final few exams, my scores were high enough to get into one of the top 2 high schools in the county. In the end, I even just barely made it into Nanchi High School, a place I had never even dreamed of attending. When I got into high school, my dad was overjoyed. He said, "I knew you'd make something of yourself. Keep it up, and keep climbing all the way to the top for me." My mom just chimed in coolly from the side, "And the money, are you going to pay for it?" Dad froze on the spot, then looked at me again, and said with a hopeful tone, "High school has summer breaks too, right? You can still earn money then, can't you?" I didn't have time to be sad anymore. I needed so much time to quickly save up for tuition and living expenses. Fortunately, I was quite frugal during my repeat year of high school, and I worked as much as possible during winter and summer breaks. I managed to save up a bit of money. In this remote area, regulations were lax. I teamed up with some of the top students from the repeat class, and we started an affordable tutoring center in town. Honestly, it was just my family that was poor. Many families in town were doing alright financially. After offering 2 trial lessons, we actually got the tutoring center up and running. The classmates I ran the tutoring center with all came from modest backgrounds, so we all valued this opportunity. For the 2-month summer period, we charged 800 yuan per student per month. In the county, tutoring centers charged by the lesson, with the cheapest being 80 yuan per session. After proving our capabilities through trial lessons, we quickly enrolled nearly 100 students. By the end of the summer, I had basically saved up enough to cover my high school expenses for 3 years. Since I was the one who fronted the money for the venue and handled hiring from the start, I got the biggest share. My mom kept prying about how much I was making, so I lied and told her I was just working a part-time job. I even got a classmate to cover for me, making her think I was only earning 2 or 3,000 at most. I asked her why she didn't just ask Suing for it, and she said, "What makes you think you can compare yourself to Suing?" So in her eyes, I'm not even worthy of being compared to Suing. The closer it gets to the start of school, the more irritable my mom becomes. She keeps asking who's going to handle the household chores once I'm gone, now that Suying's education is costing a lot. My dad's barely making ends meet by opening doors for others, and my mom simply can't manage farming on her own. I said, "I didn't spend your money, what more do you want? Let Suing go work a summer job too." Suing, who had been silent all along, finally spoke up. "Do you really think everyone's like you?" she said. "You're definitely different from me. After all, you're counting on me to bleed you dry." I didn't back down, firing back at her. "Who's the parasite? What have I ever taken from you?" she cried, tears already welling up in her eyes. Looking at her face, rosy and well-nourished by our mother, I was suddenly reminded of the scene of my own demise. In this swamp of a family, they all chose, without exception, to step on my back to climb out, afraid of sinking themselves. Before I could even say a word, my mother stepped forward, hand raised to strike me. I met her gaze without a trace of fear. Her hand never came down. I don't rely on this family. I don't take anything from it, and I'm not afraid to die. What can anyone possibly do to me? The conversation ended awkwardly, and after school started, I began living on campus, coming back less often, practically never. One day, Grandma came to my school looking for me. She kept crying, saying she felt like she wouldn't live much longer and was afraid that after she was gone, no one would take care of my dad. Watching her, at her age, walk over 10 miles just to tell me this, I suddenly felt a bit envious of my dad. After all, someone truly cared about her wholeheartedly. I told her I could only guarantee my dad's basic living needs. That's what the law requires, but nothing more. My father needed me, yet he never fought for me or showed me the slightest bit of affection. I was like a tamed beast, having lost the instinct to love myself. I forged myself into a tonic to mend our broken family, until I was spent, reduced to nothing but dregs. They would only ever complain that I wasn't strong enough, wasn't capable enough. She wanted to say something more, but suddenly fell silent. She simply took out from her basket the duck and chicken eggs she'd saved for me, along with some tangerines, and said, "You're a capable one. I just hope you don't blame us. Being born into a family like this, we couldn't offer you much. Nyen Nyen, you have a good heart. When I die, may my spirit watch over you." I got her a ride home. She kept staring at me, and I didn't turn back to look at her again. I'm not turning back. I won't keep sacrificing myself for just a little warmth. I've already died once. I owe none of them anything. The reason I chose to repeat the year is that the school I got into after my first middle school entrance exam was really poor, and I'm not naturally very bright myself, so I felt I needed extra support. The tutoring center succeeded mainly because our town was so remote that there weren't any proper tutoring centers to begin with. Plus, I gathered the top students from each subject across the town, and I rented out the school cafeteria as our venue. The money I've saved up is pretty much enough to cover my expenses. Attending Nanchi High School in the county meant a much higher cost of living and intense academic pressure. Everyone was pushing themselves to the limit. My first exam results, however, fell short of expectations, but I'm not discouraged. I've never been particularly gifted, but as long as I keep going, I want to fight for my own life. Even if I don't end up getting into a top university, I'll still keep moving forward, inch by inch. I refuse to believe I can't make it out. I had considered getting a tutor, but the cost was a bit high, so I set my sights on the top-performing students. Tao Yen, the top student in our class, had excellent grades but came from a difficult financial background, much like I did in middle school, where I'd buy one meal at lunch and save half to eat with hot water in the evening. I approached her proactively and told her I was willing to cover some of her living expenses, but in return, she would need to tutor me. After thinking it over, she told me I could ask her questions anytime, but she didn't want the money. Of course, asking questions was fine, but I needed someone at the same level to guide me through the material. I told her I was serious and that this was a fair exchange. She could use me as practice and even take up tutoring as a side gig after graduation, and just like that, I had a private, high-quality tutor running the tutoring class. Taught me how to leverage others' strengths. I wasn't the smartest or most talented, so I let those who were guide me. She really had a knack for effective study methods. Following her lead every day, my grades improved rapidly, from the bottom of the class to average, and then even higher. We had a break once a month, and every time I went home, my parents would be arguing. On one hand, my dad would praise my steadily improving grades. On the other, my mom worried about what would happen to Suing if I kept studying all the way. I can't stand this atmosphere, but there's nothing I can do. I really have nowhere else to go for now. It wasn't until my second year of high school that my grandmother passed away. Our family didn't even have the money for a funeral. I remember in my past life, I had to use my own savings from the factory and borrow from coworkers just to arrange it. Because of that funeral, I ended up with a lot of debt, and it took me over a year to pay it all off. This time, without me working, the family couldn't afford it and had to borrow most of the money. So we kept things simple and ended up spending very little. I recall that in my previous life, the wake lasted 7 days and 7 nights. They said it was an auspicious day for burial, but around here, the custom is usually no more than 3 days later. In order to pay off my debts quickly, I'd stay late after work to do odd jobs by hand, survive on instant noodles every day, eat out less than twice a week, and it took me over a year of Saving up just to clear everything. Now that there's no money, people don't even care about good fortune anymore. I wonder if they ever stopped to think that it was my hard-earned money too. After the funeral, my mother came to me and said, "You know how things are at home. It's not that I don't want to support your education, but if you don't go out and work, how are we supposed to handle the family's debts? We still owe over 5,000 in family debt, but I've got more than 10,000 in hand from running my tutoring class earlier. Instead of taking the money right away, I called the police first. There was no point in dragging it out. I cried in front of the police and handed over 2,500 yuan, saying it was money I'd saved myself for high school. When I was in high school, my dad initially offered me $100. I didn't take it, and he never offered again. But out of the 1,500 he earns, he gives 1,200 to Suing. She's taking the college entrance exam this year. I know my mom wants me to pay for her college, just like in my past life, but why should I? It's not like I'm her parent. She's even older than me. Last time around, I did support her, and what did I get? She just kept studying, applied to go abroad, and then lived it up in another country, leaving me behind. She said the money for studying abroad was her own, that she figured it out herself. All she told me was, "I don't owe you anything." It was my own money. She would give her mother some living expenses, but her mother was reluctant to spend it. Instead, she mostly came to me for money, believing her good daughter had a hard life out there and wanting to save it for her. What a touching mother-daughter bond, just not for me. I sweated blood in the factory to support their whole family, only to be told, "I don't owe you anything." With the police involved this time, my mother didn't dare say much more, but she couldn't help muttering resentfully, "Then what about Su Ying's university tuition? So the younger sister should support the older sister's education. How does that make any sense? Besides, if you're facing financial hardship, you can apply for student grants. We can also help you apply for social assistance." 2 policemen each handed me a few hundred yuan, and I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. Our place is both poor and remote, and I know their salaries aren't high either. I didn't want to take it at first, but they insisted, saying that by reading it out loud, I could help others. Besides, if I don't pick up now, my parents will definitely start wondering. So I kept the 2,000 or so, knowing they could pay back the rest bit by bit. But my money still has its uses. Throughout high school, I studied with Tao Yan's help while also pinching pennies and making money on the side. I'd wholesale socks, stockings, hats, and scarves to sell discreetly in the girls' dorm. I even sold snacks occasionally. That's pretty much how I covered all my expenses during high school. To save money, my sister chose to go to a teacher's college after her college entrance exams this time. Mom called me in tears, scolding me. "How could you be so heartless?" She said that's what sisters are for, to help each other out. I shot back, "Then when exactly did you help me, sis? Won't your sister be able to help you once she's in college?" Her logic left me stunned, but I replied with chilling calm, "Mom, didn't you already sell me to Dad and Grandma to get money for my sister's treatment? Have you forgotten?" And hung up before she could explode. After the college entrance exam, I didn't magically breeze through like the characters in the novels I used to read, effortlessly getting into Tsinghua or Peking University, but with that kind of effort, I got into a 211 university, and I'm perfectly content with that. With the last of my money in hand, I went to the city where I'd worked in my previous life and found that lottery shop I remembered. At that time, their scratch-off tickets had a 2 million prize displayed. I was so envious back then that I would buy a ticket every holiday, hoping I could win too, but the biggest prize I ever got was just $100. I remember it so clearly. It was the week after the college entrance exam. I don't know which one it was, but I could buy every scratch card in the store that day. Luckily, they didn't have many in stock, so I bought them all for just a few thousand yuan. I spent the whole afternoon scratching them one by one, carefully searching, my hands shaking as I revealed each card. I grabbed the headgear I'd prepared in advance and collected my prize money. With part of the money, I seized the opportunity before property prices skyrocketed and bought a prime location apartment in the city center. I worked with a real estate agent to secure the maximum possible mortgage, aiming to preserve as much of my capital as I could. With another portion, I invested in stocks I was confident would rise, setting aside only a small amount for living expenses. Just as I anticipated, I cashed out my stocks at their peak, securing a substantial sum of money. My knowledge of what followed is limited. My perspective wasn't very broad at the time of my death, so I don't know much about anything else. I found a job I actually like based on my qualifications, and now I just go through the motions day in and day out. After Suing graduated, she became a teacher in the county, My mother moved there to cook for her. As for my father, I found him a spot in a nursing home and paid for his care. I hardly ever went to see him. My mother, on the other hand, was constantly in touch, trying to get me to pay for a house for Suing. She kept prying into how much I earned. I just said quietly, then I'll go protest outside Su Ying's school with a banner. You don't want to be the reason she loses her job, do you? She hesitated, afraid of damaging something valuable, and indeed never contacted me again. It seems like I've taken care of everything, and I should be happy. But I'm not really, because those memories are always with me even because of my rebirth. I can't be honest with my therapist. It wasn't until my mom reached out again, saying she wanted to set me up with a blind date. It was Song Chuan. After all, I once thought about getting revenge on Song Chuan, but back then I was still a student. Later, I got so caught up in making money and studying that I almost forgot the whole thing. I got Song Chuan's contact info and then subtly introduced him to a wealthy woman with sadistic tendencies, doing everything I could to set them up. Song Chuan couldn't resist the temptation and married the wealthy woman. I next heard about him on the news. He had been tortured and smothered to death. It was a brutal end in a daze. I remembered the blows from the clubs. On Mid-Autumn Festival, a day for family reunion, I begged him relentlessly in that house, only to be met with beating after beating. I wonder if he feels the pain now, too. I've had a few relationships, most of which just fizzled out. For a long time, I felt completely lost about what to do with my life. It felt like my days had no real meaning, even happiness seemed distant and fleeting, and the joy money brought me never lasted. Later, I returned to that remote little mountain village. The place was desperately poor. It had been that way for generations. I saw so many children just like I was back then. Even after all these years, students were still dropping out of school. I've sponsored some students, launched local agricultural support initiatives, and set up a simple food processing plant. Things seem to have changed, yet somehow, they also feel the same. But I know parents are now earning an income, and fewer children are dropping out of school. I can't help everyone, but I can help some. More often than not, I feel like I'm helping my former self, the one who had no one to rely on. The end. Story 2. My sugar daddy took me to a banquet, and I got into a fight with his first love. He dragged me out of the scuffle with my messy hair. I looked at him coldly and said, "Are you taking sides?" He remained silent. I took off my ring and threw it in his face, saying, "I'm dumping you." I was Chia Chen's kept woman, and I had been with him for 3 years. He was good-looking, wealthy, and skilled in bed. He was also generous to me. The only requirement he had was that I couldn't film any kissing scenes. Because of this, I lost some acting opportunities and was also scolded by many people for being pretentiously noble. But I didn't care. I had always been a well-behaved person and never caused him any trouble. However, I didn't expect that the first time I caused trouble, it was a big one. I had a fight with his first love who had just returned to the country. It all started when Xiao Chen asked me to accompany him to a banquet. I had never been able to fit into the circle of the wealthy and noble. I originally wanted to refuse, but since I hadn't seen him for 3 months while filming on location, I really wanted to see him, so I went anyway. As expected, I met people I didn't want to see. I subconsciously tried to avoid them, but they just wouldn't let me be. I just went to the small garden to get some fresh air, and Yitsun and Qing Sisi followed me. Yitsun was Xiao Chen's childhood sweetheart. Her family had immigrated overseas a few years ago due to family business and had just returned to the country recently, and Qing Sisi was my sworn enemy. She was used to buying negative press releases and putting me on the trending searches. Unexpectedly, the two of them knew each other. I sat on the bench and didn't want to move. Qing Sisi hugged her arms and insinuated, "Isn't this Mr. Song's engagement banquet today? Why is everyone allowed to attend?" Yitsun glanced at me and said in a flat tone, "Didn't you pull me here to say something? Is this all?" Qing Sisi smiled obsequiously at her. "Sun, don't be in a hurry, it's so stuffy inside. We just came out to get some air and can talk as we walk around." Yitsun didn't say anything and leaned lightly against the edge of the pond. Sun, are you and Xiaochen going to get married through an arranged marriage?" "Yeah, it's almost settled." "That's great, you're a perfect match." Some people who don't know their place should also be sensible and step aside. Yitsun didn't say anything. Qing Sisi kept talking. I didn't feel like listening and turned to leave, but her next words made me stop in my tracks. Some people are not only unrefined themselves, but their families are also in a mess. When that project had problems back then, how many people lost their jobs because of it? I think it's retribution that the person in charge lost a leg. My steps faltered as I was about to leave, and I stepped forward and slapped her twice. Chung Cece covered her face and glared at me. Shui, are you crazy? I sneered. It's one thing to gossip behind someone's back, but do you think I won't dare to hit you when you say it right in front of me? Yeatsun frowned and looked at me. Miss Shu, this is the Song family's place. Have you considered the consequences of such an excessive action? My eyes were sharp. Miss Yi, if your parents were being spoken of like this, I hope you can also be rational and consider the consequences first. Yeatsun didn't say anything, but Chung Cece reached out to pull my hair, and we started fighting, but I don't know how Yeatsun joined in. Anyway, when Xiao Chen and the others came, the three of us were in the middle of a brawl. Xiao Chen pulled me out of the scuffle with a dark face. I was in a sorry state, but Yeatsun was in much better condition. I looked at Xiao Chen coldly and questioned him. Are you taking sides? His brows were furrowed, and he remained silent. I took off the ring on my hand and threw it in his face. I'm dumping you. After saying that, I held my breath and ran out the door, directly getting into a taxi that had just stopped, but I couldn't hold back my tears and was overwhelmed by a huge sense of grievance. I had just finished filming yesterday, and I came to see him with so much longing. Not only did we not have much to talk about, but he also took sides when I was humiliated by others. My phone kept vibrating. It was Xiao Chen's call. I answered it and took the initiative. The house in Nanwan Garden is in my name. You move out within a week. Then I hung up the phone and blocked all his contact information. That scumbag man, I'm done with him. I didn't go back to Nanwan Garden but found a random hotel to stay in. After taking a shower and calming down, I vaguely realized that something was wrong. I should be the first kept woman who dared to drive her sugar daddy out. I become more and more bold towards Xiao Chen. Clearly, I was the timid one at the beginning. The first time I met Xiao Chen was at a cocktail party. I was forced by my manager to flatter some famous directors and investors. My family used to be in good financial condition, but during that time, my father's project had problems. Not only did he lose a leg, but all our family's savings were also used to compensate the workers. Our family owed a huge amount of debt, and my parents were worried all day long. I wanted to help support my family, but I was deceived by a talent scout and signed a shark contract. I not only had no resources but was also forced to go to drinking parties. I didn't have the means to break the contract. I managed to avoid it a few times by pretending to be sick and acting stupid. Until that time, I had to go. I pushed open the private room door. There were several middle-aged men inside, but Xiao Chen, who was sitting in the main seat, stood out like a breath of fresh air. But just as I arrived, he was about to leave. In a hurry, I followed him. I asked him, "Boss, can I be with you?" He was much taller than me. He looked down at me and said, "What? Do I look like the easiest to mess with? Among all those people, he looked the least easy to mess with." But I didn't dare to say that. I shook my head and said sincerely, "You're the best looking." Xiao Chen sneered. I know. I could see his impatience, and I forced out another sentence. "You look the most like a good person." He had a half smile. "Then you've misjudged me." Then he left, and I was dragged back by my manager. In the private room, I was forced to drink a lot of alcohol, until a fat and bald director touched my thigh. I struggled desperately and knocked over the wine glass. He slapped me and cursed me for not knowing what was good for me. As he said that, he came to tear at my clothes. In a moment of desperation, I picked up a piece of the broken wine glass and stabbed it into his thigh. After that, I thought I was definitely going to jail. Then the door of the private room was pushed open, and Xiao Chen stood outside. He glanced into the private room, and the director, who had been shouting like a pig being slaughtered, suddenly stopped. "Aren't you going to be with me? Why don't you come over?" I dropped the piece of glass and threw myself into his arms. I was shaking so much that I could hardly stand. He carried me away. Xiao Chen took me back to Nanwan Garden. At night, I had already taken a shower, but I didn't dare to go out of the bathroom. I heard him on the phone outside, dealing with what happened that night. When the voice stopped, I walked out wrapped in a towel. He was lazily leaning on the sofa, with a few buttons of his white shirt undone, revealing his delicate collarbone. I walked up to him, gathered my courage, and dropped the towel, but I didn't dare to look up. He stood up, picked up the towel, and put it back on me, teasing, "You're not very old, but you have a lot of tricks." My face turned as red as blood, and I stammered, I've never been with anyone, I don't know the process." "Look up, look at me." I gripped the towel tightly and summoned the courage to look at him. The person in front of me had a calm expression, with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. "Charming and dangerous. Do you trust me so much? Aren't you afraid that I'm more perverted than them?" Startled, I quickly flattered him. "No, good-looking people are kind." He laughed, pulled me closer, and lowered his head to kiss me. It was my first kiss, and I just felt dizzy. His fingertips gently stroked my lips, and he whispered temptingly, "Go to sleep, can you sleep alone?" I nodded dazedly. Is this the attitude you have towards the person you're with? The end of his sentence rose, warning of danger. I hugged him tightly. "I'm not brave enough, I want to sleep in your arms." Satisfied, he tucked me into the quilt and went out to make a phone call. He came back half an hour later and hugged me to sleep. During those days, I checked the news every day, but there was no news about me on the internet. A week later, my shark contract was terminated. Xiao Chen arranged a new agency and manager for me, and the director who tried to sexually harass me disappeared from the industry. Over the past 3 years, the resources Xiao Chen arranged for me were always the most suitable for me. I steadily advanced from an 18th-tier actress to a 2nd-tier rising star. The debts my family owed were all paid off, and my parents opened a small store in our hometown. It seemed that everything was getting better, only I knew that, in fact, things were getting worse and worse because I was falling deeper and deeper in love with Xiao Chen. He was my sugar daddy, but I always subconsciously regarded him as my lover. I couldn't say exactly when it started. Falling in love with Xiao Chen was really too easy. When I woke up the next day, I found that there were hundreds of missed calls on my phone, mostly from my manager, Sister Chen. I didn't know what had happened, so I quickly called her back. Sister Chen's loud voice drove away all my drowsiness. "My dear, you finally answered the phone. Do you know you've caused a huge commotion? What on earth did you do last night? What happened?" I was still dazed. While on the phone, I took a look at the trending searches. #Shui beat Ching Cici, #Shui get out of the entertainment industry, #Shui quit the industry. The argument between me and Ching Cici last night was filmed, but it was edited to only show a few seconds of me suddenly rushing up to hit her. I closed my eyes and explained the whole thing to Sister Chen, including the fact that I had broken up with Xiao Chen. After all, I wouldn't have my sugar daddy to back me up anymore. Sister Chen was silent for a while and then sighed. "Take a rest these few days and don't look at the news. I'll figure out a way." After hanging up the phone, I carefully watched the trending search video. It was taken from a very hidden angle, and it seemed premeditated, because Yitsun, who was standing next to us, was cut out of the video, and only Ching Cici and I were in the picture. The comments were all one-sided. "Shui looks mean and harsh. She actually dared to hit someone. She really thought no one would dare to expose her. I heard that she has a rich sugar daddy behind her. Otherwise, with her poor acting skills, how could her resources have been rising steadily in recent years?" Inside information: she's a substitute raised by a big shot. Now that the real person is back, she's been dumped. Looking at those comments about her being a substitute, I knew that Ching Cici was guiding the public opinion again, but I didn't feel much about it. Let them scold me. Since I'm in this business, I should bear it. As long as they don't involve my family, it's okay. As for the substitute thing, it's completely nonsense. When I first got together with Xiao Chen, he was so good to me that I was a bit scared. Once, he came to pick me up after a dinner party, taking advantage of the alcohol. I asked him if I looked like someone he knew. He hugged me in his arms and flicked my forehead. "Are you addicted to acting? A substitute? I don't do that kind of thing." I pushed my luck and asked him if there were other people. He sneered. "Do I look like I have a lot of free time?" Getting a positive answer, I was happy for a long time. Xiao Chen might not really love me that much. Maybe it was just a novelty, or maybe he was too lazy to change. It didn't matter. At least during the time we were together, there was no third person. I could accept not being loved or not being firmly chosen, but I couldn't lose the last bit of my dignity because of the sudden negative news. A scheduled variety show appearance was also cancelled. Now I stay in the hotel every day and don't dare to go out because I'm really afraid of my anti-fans. 2 years ago, I played a crazy villain. That character was both beautiful and crazy, and I portrayed it vividly. Netizens even said that I didn't seem to be acting, but I didn't expect that some people would really associate the character with me as an actress. Someone took advantage of the time when my leg was injured and threw a beehive at me, trying to disfigure me. Fortunately, Xiao Chen came in time. He lit his suit on fire to drive away the bees, and that high-end custom suit worth hundreds of thousands of yuan was destroyed just like that. I shook my head. Why did I think of him again? I picked up my phone to look at the missed calls and WeChat messages. They were all messages of encouragement and comfort from my friends, but there was nothing from Xiao Chen. I realized later that I had blocked him, all of his contact information. I was being stubborn with myself and threw the phone away. He was so capable. If he really wanted to find me, Wouldn't he be able to? He just didn't care. Sitting by the window, I felt that I was both contradictory and sentimental. I knew it was impossible, but I still subconsciously held on to hope. I always felt that he should like me a little bit, after all. He once came to accompany me on the night of family reunion, braving the wind and frost during the first New Year when I was with Xiao Chen. Because of a tight schedule, I didn't go back to my hometown but stayed in Nanwan Garden on New Year's Eve. I was half asleep when I suddenly heard the sound of the door opening. I was so scared that I jumped up from the bed, picked up a table lamp, and quietly opened the door. Xiao Chen stood in the entrance hall, with some snowflakes still on his shoulders. He looked at the table lamp in my hand and raised his eyebrows with a smile. "Is this how you welcome me during the New Year?" I threw the table lamp and jumped into his arms. I originally wanted to ask him why he came suddenly, but I felt that he probably didn't want to hear it, so the words in my mouth changed direction. "Why do you appear every time I think of you?" He carried me towards the bedroom and teased me in my ear. "Let me see where you miss me." The wind was howling outside, and the room was filled with warmth when he came out of the shower. I was so tired that I was almost asleep in a daze. He stuffed a red envelope under my pillow and kissed my forehead. "Shoo shoo, Happy New Year." I wasn't lonely during the first New Year without my parents' company. I stayed in the hotel for 3 days. I was originally going to go out to buy some things and take a walk, but I was dissuaded by Sister Chen's message. The news about me hitting Qing Sisi had been spreading for a few days and still hadn't been suppressed, and new negative news about me was exposed. The director whom I stabbed came out to denounce me, claiming that I had once tried to seduce him in exchange for resources, but later latched onto a new sugar daddy. He didn't dare to say who the sugar daddy was, only saying that he had been suppressed and sidelined over the years, and he listed a series of evidence, some of which were true and some false. Sister Chen was at her wit's end. She simply couldn't suppress this news on her own. "Shoo shoo, can't you really get in touch with Mr. Xiao? Just lower your head to him, it's just a piece of cake for him." I was silent, and my nose suddenly felt a bit sour. This kind of baseless news wasn't the first to appear, but it had always been suppressed before it could gain momentum. This time, however, it was spreading more and more widely. I said in a low voice, "He won't care about me anymore. He's going to get married through an arranged marriage. Breaking up with him this time is exactly what he wants." Sister Chen sighed. "If we can't resolve this matter in a positive way, you probably won't have any work for a long time." "It's okay, Sister Chen, I'll post a clarification statement later. People can believe it or not. I don't want to get caught in the cycle of self-vindication either. Thank you for these past few years. I've dragged you down." Sister Chen comforted me a few words and said she would try her best to find a solution, but I knew it was going to be difficult. I checked the news, and everyone was scolding me. "Why hasn't this unethical artist been banned yet? So disgusting," I said. Before that she had latched onto a sugar daddy. Otherwise, with her terrible acting skills, how could she have reached her current position? Why isn't the sugar daddy taking care of her now? I guess he's gotten tired of her. I'm so curious, who exactly is the sugar daddy? He must be blind to have taken a fancy to her. Didn't they say that the sugar daddy has a first love? Could she be the mistress? Her father seems to be a corrupt contractor. It's really true that the upper being crooked makes the lower being go askew. There were also people speaking up for me, but they were quickly drowned out by the wave of negative comments. I logged into my Weibo account and started editing the text. "Hello, everyone, I'm Shui. I'm sorry for occupying public resources because of a personal issue, but since this matter has been spreading, I still hope that everyone can discern the truth of the matter. First of all, I have no relationship with Director Yang, and there was no seduction involved. When I first entered the industry, I was naive and was deceived into signing a shark contract. My manager forced me to attend drinking parties. Director Yang tried to sexually harass me. In a desperate attempt to defend myself, I stabbed him in the thigh with a piece of glass, thinking I might go to jail, and I was lucky to escape not getting what he wanted from me. He didn't give up and turned his attention to other young girls who had just entered the industry. I don't know how many innocent girls there were, but I managed to save 2 of them. I'm not saying all this to prove anything. I just hope everyone can recognize what a scumbag he is. The girls I saved don't need to speak up for me. Such a terrible thing doesn't deserve to be mentioned repeatedly. Secondly, any malicious remarks should be directed at me. Don't involve my family. They haven't offended any of you. If you still can't keep your mouth clean, I sincerely hope that everything you say will rebound back to you. Finally, I've never been a mistress, nor a substitute. I'm now Single. Thank you all for taking the time to read this. I wrote a statement that skirted around the sensitive issues. After posting it, I turned off my phone leaning against the bay window. I felt extremely tired even though I hadn't done anything. Before I knew it, I fell asleep and had a dream. At that time, my career was just on the rise. Sister Chin got me a role in a movie that became a huge hit. Although I was just a supporting character, I was very popular, so she took advantage of the popularity and got me a variety show and some advertisements. When having dinner with the investors, I met an old acquaintance, Director Yang. He was no longer a director but had become a producer, and he had even changed his name that day. As I passed by, I happened to see a young girl running out of his private room, looking disheveled. I protected the girl behind me and raised my phone at him. The girl said there was another person in the private room. I brought them all out. He knew that I had Xiao Chen backing me up, so he didn't dare to touch me. I knew that this might cause trouble for Xiao Chen. If he didn't care about me, I might be in big trouble, but I didn't have time to think too much at that moment. If I hadn't come across it, I couldn't have done anything. But if I just turned a blind eye when I did see it, I wouldn't be able to live in peace for the rest of my life. There was no news about those two girls later. They both left the industry later. I told Xiao Chen about this. I thought he might scold me a bit, but he just smiled and said that I was getting more tempered. In the end, he just told me not to do such a thing alone next time because a cornered dog will also jump over a wall. I was indeed scared afterwards, but I also felt a bit of stubbornness. This inexplicable stubbornness all came from Xiao Chen. When I first entered the industry, I had no fame or status, and not many people knew about my relationship with Xiao Chen, so I was often bullied as a newbie when filming. I didn't want to cause trouble and thought that a few words of scolding wouldn't hurt me. Later, once Xiao Chen came to visit the set and heard it, he called that gossiping crew member who was bad-mouthing me in front of him and told me to scold him back. At first, I didn't know what to say. He started it for me, and I followed his lead and scolded him back sentence by sentence. I got more and more into it, and finally, I was dragged away by Xiao Chen. He also looked at me with a smile. That day, are you going to hold that anger in and secretly get nodules? I can't be with you every day. In the future, if anyone scolds you or bullies you, fight back. If you can't fight back, come and tell me. I haven't even made you feel wronged, yet you're letting others make you angry outside. Xiao Chen that day had clear features and his eyes sparkled with a brilliant light. It was as if a crack had been torn in my heart, and a flood of love poured out. My thoughts came back, and I was woken up by Sister Chen's phone call. When I woke up, my face was wet with tears. I wiped my face clean and answered the phone. Sister Chen's tone was filled with uncontrollable excitement. Shu Shu, my dear, did you misunderstand your relationship with Mr. Xiao? I was a bit confused. Haven't you been online yet? Hurry up and go to Weibo. Mr. Xiao personally stepped in to confront the anti-fans. He's so handsome that I'm going crazy. If he proposes to you, you must say yes. Okay, consider it my begging you. I promise I'll eat a balanced diet of meat and vegetables for the rest of my life, as long as you two stay together firmly. After saying that, she hung up the phone. I opened Weibo in a daze and found that all the trending searches had changed. Hashtag Sugar Daddy Xiao Chen. Hashtag Mr. Xiao confronts anti-fans. Hashtag I want Mr. Xiao's mouth. Hashtag Mr. Xiao, don't love too much. And then, the top comment on my statement was from Xiao Chen, who commented on my post with the verified account of the Xiao group. You have time to write a long post but no time to take me out of the blacklist. Breaking up. Shui, you're something. This comment made my spine stiffen. I could almost see Xiao Chen gnashing his teeth. I went to check those trending searches again and found that Xiao Chen had engaged in several rounds of arguments with the anti-fans online and won every round. Anti-fan, this woman is too timing and has the nerve to block Mr. Xiao Chen. What, are you jealous that she didn't block you? Anti-fan, laughing to death. She actively seduced others but accused them of sexual harassment. She should take a good look at herself. Xiao Chen, come on, let me take a look at what you look like first. Anti-fan, even if the sexual harassment is true, wasn't it true that she hit Cece and bullied her colleagues before? Xiao Chen, I told her to hit her. If you have any questions, talk to me. Anti-fan, she said she broke up. Laughing to death, the big shot was just playing with her. Does she really think he's going to marry her? Xiao Chen, am I going to marry you instead of her? Anti-fan, this account is so active. Could it be that Shui bought some water trolls? Xiao Chen, Green Peak Building, report your online name to the receptionist and come to my office to talk. Anti-fan, I don't care. Shui is just despicable, shameless, and disgusting, Xiao Chen, at Assistant Lin, find out all his information within 10 minutes. Xiao Chen had completely stirred up the situation. The anti-fans were so intimidated by his rebukes that they became silent, and in the end, there wasn't a single person who dared to speak up. Then the fans of their couple had a field day. Mr. Xiao is protecting his wife with his strength. I won't say who's been mesmerized by his handsomeness. Those who were laughing at Shu Shu, just die, Mr. Xiao. I'm right here. Let's see who dares to scold my wife. My goodness, if these two have a child, how incredibly good-looking the child will be. I was stunned. I secretly raised the corners of my lips. But my phone popped up with a new comment. Open the door. I froze, threw my phone away, and peeked through the peephole. Xiaochen was standing outside the door. My heart was pounding. I opened the door. Xiaochen looked down at me, looking incredibly handsome. I wanted to say something, but tears welled up in my eyes uncontrollably, and I just stood there looking at him with tears in my eyes. He was stunned for a moment, then raised his hand to wipe my tears. His movements were gentle, but his mouth was unforgiving. I haven't said anything yet, and you're already crying. You've really mastered the art of moral kidnapping. He pulled me inside and sat down on the sofa. I secretly glanced at him, happy in my heart but still stubborn with my mouth. What are you doing here? He threw his suit jacket aside and rolled up his sleeves as he said, let's talk about the matter of taking sides first. As soon as he mentioned it, I got angry again. I sat a bit farther away from him and mumbled softly, you did take sides. What's there to talk about? He sneered. I did take sides. Which time did I not side with you? You were so engrossed in the fight that you didn't even realize that Ching Cici's manicure was about to scratch your face. If I didn't pull you out, your face would have been disfigured. Normally, you'd whine about a pimple for a whole day. If your face was disfigured, you'd probably cry so much that you'd flood the house. I was stunned. I didn't expect that to be the reason. For a moment, I felt I was in the wrong, but I didn't want to admit defeat. Then why didn't you say so at that time? Xiaochen sneered again. Was it that I didn't say it or that you didn't listen? When I chased after you, you were already long gone. You're not this eager when you come to find me usually. You even told me to move out. Shui, you're the first one to be with someone and then drive the sugar daddy out. My confidence was waning, but I still stuck out my neck and argued with him. You didn't come to find me these past few days. You didn't care when I was being cyberbullied the other day. Aren't you busy with the arranged marriage? What are you doing here looking for me? I'm not going to be the mistress. He pulled me over, pinched my face, and his expression darkened. Who told you I'm going to get married through an arranged marriage? Is it that the resources I gave you were too poor? Or was there any time the gifts I gave you weren't good enough, that made you think I would sell my marriage to secure resources? They all said that. You listen to this person and that person, but you just don't listen to me. Do you want a spanking? I shrank back and broke free from his grip. You still haven't said what you were doing these past few days. He looked at me and sighed. I went on a business trip to the United States. A project collapsed, and I went there to take over. I didn't intervene at first because I knew that Ching Cici had hooked up with Director Yang. I was waiting for her to reveal all the dirt so I could deal with it all at once. I arranged bodyguards near the hotel these past few days in case the anti-fans came to cause trouble. What else do you want to know? Come on, ask all your questions at once. I finally asked the question that had been deep in my heart. Will you marry me? Or do you just want me to be your kept woman forever? Xiaochen was silent. My heart sank halfway. Then he said, is there a conflict between the two? You can stay if you want, or go out if you want. When have I ever interfered with you? I lowered my head. But you never wear the couple rings I chose. Xiaochen picked up the suit jacket that he had thrown aside and took out 2 couple rings from the left pocket of his chest. I saw these rings by chance when I walked the red carpet at the Cannes Film Festival. They weren't from any famous brand. They were just handmade by an old woman on the street. They weren't expensive, but they were unique. I liked them and bought them. I would basically wear them when I was with him, but he had never worn his. I didn't wear them because you didn't want to go public, and these rings are too special, so I put them in my suit pocket every day. He stood up and walked in front of me, his eyes deep and profound. I didn't know if you wanted to get married or not, so I could only indirectly take you to an engagement banquet to see your reaction. If you still don't want to, we can wait a couple of years. You're really something. You take out all your temper on me. Aren't you polite when you're outside? Why are you being so fierce with me? Do you take advantage of people you know well? His voice was getting lower and lower. When I looked up, I met his deep eyes. and a warm current of passion flowed in his eyes. He pulled me into his arms and gently patted my back. "Stop being naughty, darling." I hugged him back and gave a soft sound. I couldn't quite explain how I felt in my heart. I just realized it a bit late. I've been doted on for so many years, and the love has continuously given birth to possessiveness, so much so that I can't stand the slightest possibility that he won't favor me anymore. Not even once. I admit that I've been spoiled and arrogant. Early the next morning, I received a message from Sister Chin. Not only could I participate in the previous variety show as scheduled, but I also got several more business endorsements. I secretly checked the trending searches, and they were all about the follow-up of Open the Door. The PR team was diverting all the attention towards the couple fans, and they hadn't responded to the previous negative news yet. They were probably waiting for the right moment. Xiao Chen and I went back to Nanwan Garden together, and we walked out holding hands openly. We used to think about avoiding suspicion, but now it's not necessary anymore. There were people taking photos all the way, but they were all friendly. And Xiao Chen didn't say anything. I thought that the matter from yesterday was over, but I didn't expect that there would be another surprise when we got home. All of Xiao Chen's things in the villa were gone, including his clothes, watches, accessories, toiletries, everything. The key thing was that I didn't realize it at first. I even thought that our house had been burglarized. I was curious for a while why they only stole his things and not mine. Xiao Chen looked at me with a half smile. "You told me to move out within a week, didn't you?" How dare I not listen? Maybe one day my things will end up on the main road. After all, I didn't pay the rent, and I don't have the property certificate. I have no right to live in this big villa. Listening to these sarcastic words, I felt extremely ashamed. He moved out because he was afraid that I wouldn't want to come back. Now, doing all this is just to play a trick on me. I knew I was in the wrong, so I cooperatively tugged at his sleeve and asked him to move back. All the things were put back in place that afternoon. I obsequiously reorganized his ties according to their colors. Xiao Chen went to the company, and I stayed at home to catch up on variety shows. After all, I was going to be a guest on one soon. Unexpectedly, I received a call from Yitsun. She invited me to have dinner with her, because of the recent commotion about me in the news. Yitsun came to Nanwan Garden to pick me up in person. I was a bit flattered. Xiao Chen said that you were once ambushed by anti-fans. It's better to be careful. Her attitude had changed so much and so quickly that I didn't know what she was up to. It wasn't until we sat down in the restaurant that she raised her glass and toasted me. "Miss Xu, I once believed some malicious words about you and had some misunderstandings, which caused you trouble and harm. Today, I sincerely apologize to you." I understood immediately. It must be that Qing Sisi had spoken ill of me to her, leading Yitsun to have a preconceived impression of me. I'm not a coy person, so I raised my glass and clinked it with hers. After the meal, I found that Yitsun was really easy to get along with. She was straightforward and honest, and we got along very well. I asked her why she had suddenly changed her opinion of me. She said that she had read all the comments during the recent cyberbullying, and many of them were groundless. It was obvious that someone was manipulating the situation, especially those saying that Xiao Chen regarded me as her substitute. Yitsun even laughed when she mentioned it. She, Xiao Chen, and the two brothers of the Song family grew up together. Their parents also had a good relationship, but her relationship with Xiao Chen was just pure revolutionary friendship. Previously, their parents had intended for them to get married through an arranged marriage. Yitsun didn't have anyone she liked, and she was very career-oriented. She didn't care much about marriage. If it could help her career, that would be great, so she didn't voice any opinions. She had originally thought that Xiao Chen was the same as her, but after learning that he didn't want an arranged marriage, she decisively gave up on that idea. In addition, some time ago, when she went to visit the set where Qing Sisi was filming, she found that Qing Sisi was being a diva on the set. On the contrary, many crew members, when talking about the recent news, were speaking up for me, saying that I was approachable and had a good relationship with everyone. That's when she realized that things might be different. I felt emotional inside. Being kind to others will still be rewarded with kindness. After the meal, Yitsun originally wanted to find a designated driver, but unexpectedly, we ran into Xiao Chen and the two Song brothers. They had just finished their meal and come out. I apologized to Songshur. It was really impolite of me to fight at his engagement banquet that day. He nodded indifferently, telling me not to worry about it, and left after saying a few words. Song Qing invited us to his bar for a drink, but his eyes were fixed on Yitsun the whole time. Seeing the obviously strange atmosphere between the two of them, I said loudly, Yeetsun has had a bit to drink, so it's better not to go. Let's call a designated driver for her. Song Qing immediately stepped forward. I'll take her. I ignored how they were arguing and dragged Xiao Chen away first. On the way back, I asked Xiao Chen, is there something going on between the two of them? Xiao Chen played with my hand. Can't you put more thought into me? They will figure it out on their own. You don't need to worry about it. I looked at him. Aren't you bored? He was stunned for a moment, raised the partition in the back seat, pulled me over, and in a dangerous rising tone, said, are you bored, Shushu? I think you really need a spanking. I hooked my arms around his neck and smiled brightly. Not bored. I'll never be bored for the rest of my life. He didn't say anything in the car, just smiled casually, but I was crying and screaming in the bedroom all night. 3 days later, the PR team officially clarified the previous negative news, listing clear evidence for each piece on Qing Cici's side. Multiple scandals were also exposed. She was not only kept by someone, but also had connections with director Yang. Even many of the girls who were sexually harassed were introduced by her. The evidence was clear and well organized, and Qing Cici could never turn the situation around. I watched the complete video of the fight and suddenly felt that Yeetsun was really unfortunate. I had always wondered how she joined the scuffle. After watching the video, I found that she was dragged in by Qing Cici and took several slaps for me. I apologized to her on WeChat while laughing. The public opinion on Weibo reversed. Those who had scolded me began to apologize to me. The wind of public opinion changes constantly, and I really couldn't muster up any interest in it. But as I was scrolling, I saw a photo. In the picture, I was wearing a thin dress and hanging on the wire, while Xiao Chen stood by with a down jacket, looking gentle. The photo was a bit blurry, and it was clear that it had been taken a long time ago. I was still a bit green back then. The caption of the photo read, I'm crying so hard. It turns out that Mr. Xiao was already deeply in love with her 2 years ago. Looking at the photo, I immediately remembered that it was taken half a year after I debuted. It was 3 or 4 degrees below zero, and I had to wear a thin ancient costume to film outdoor scenes. To make it look flowing, we even used a blower. After filming for a few days, I got a fever. I called Xiao Chen in a daze, and he came over that night. The next day, I didn't have any scenes, and he took care of me in the hotel for a whole day. I felt better, but there were still a few outdoor scenes to film. I was a newbie and didn't want to delay the progress. Xiao Chen didn't say anything either. He just stood by with a down jacket every day, waiting for me. After each shot, he would wrap me between him and the down jacket. He stayed for 3 days and didn't leave until all my outdoor scenes were filmed. That winter was extremely cold, but I only remembered his dry and warm embrace. I giggled as I looked at the photo and silently saved it. The news gradually cooled down. As if everything was calming down, my work also continued. The most recent thing was to participate in a popular outdoor variety show while I was having my makeup done. The fire alarm suddenly went off backstage. Thick smoke began to spread, and the surroundings suddenly became chaotic. In the pushing and shoving, I was pulled into a small utility room. It was Qing Cici. She was wearing a hooded sweatshirt, looking haggard, and there was a bruise on the corner of her mouth. I calmly observed her. She didn't have anything in her hand. It seemed that she just wanted to have a chat with me. Shui, you must be very proud, right? You have resources, reputation, and love. Everything is going smoothly for you. She blocked the door, and I found a cardboard box farther away from her and leaned against it. There's nothing to be proud of. Work and life are just like this, aren't they? Qing Cici looked at me and suddenly laughed. As she laughed, tears welled up in her eyes. You probably don't remember me. We were sent to those drinking parties in the same batch, but in the end, you were taken away by Xiao Chen, while I was stuck in that room forever. Sometimes I wonder, if Xiao Chen had taken a fancy to me back then, would everything be different? Do you know how jealous I am of you? Why can you have everything, while I have to endure all this? Why? I just wanted to earn some medical expenses for my younger brother. I was a bit dazed for a moment. I really didn't remember Qing Cici. There were several girls in that private room that night, but I didn't have the time to clearly see who they were. I looked at her. How is your younger brother now? Qing Cici raised her head and wiped away her tears. He's dead. He died of illness before I could make it in this industry. I looked out the window and sighed. I am indeed a bit luckier than you. If I hadn't met Xiao Chen, I'm not sure I could have done as well as you and managed to reach the position of a second-tier rising star. But I'm sure of one thing, since I was already stuck in the quagmire and couldn't save myself, I would never drag others down no matter what. Qing Cici suddenly fell silent. I didn't know if she was thinking of those girls who had been introduced by her and were forever trapped in that small private room. What do you know? If I didn't do it, I would have been abandoned long ago. I wouldn't even know where I'd be rotting away now. I didn't say anything and quietly reached for the door handle. Chung Sisi looked at me and didn't stop me. I opened the door and heard her sigh. People's lives are different after all. I stopped in my tracks and turned back to look at her. She dropped an envelope at my feet. The wind outside the window blew up her long hair. Her eyes were red, but she smiled defiantly. Shui, I really hate you, but you're the only one who would help me. You see, the world is sometimes so ridiculous. I don't regret it, and I won't reflect on myself. I just hope that all those scumbags die. After saying that, she jumped down from the box. In my moment of shock, I was pulled into a warm embrace. I didn't know why I was crying, but tears streamed down my face. Chung Sisi was dead. The envelope she left me at the end contained a long list. It recorded most of the people involved in the flesh trade in recent years, from the shark contracts to the forced drinking parties. A complete industrial chain had been formed. I reported it to the police and also made the list public, finally signing it with Chung Sisi's name. This matter attracted widespread attention and high importance from all sectors of society. The police also quickly opened a case, and the relevant suspects were investigated one by one. Many people began to remember Chung Sisi, while many others didn't agree with her actions. I didn't pay any more attention to it. I hadn't experienced her pain, and I couldn't approve of her actions, but I hoped that the girls who had been trapped in that small room that night could be free. Life and work went on as usual. Half a year later, I won the Best Actress award, but I didn't expect that the person presenting the award to me would be Qiao Chen. As soon as he appeared, the whole venue erupted. Not only the fans, but also the actors and hosts on the stage were all shipping our couple. He handed me the trophy, his eyes smiling. Congratulations, Miss Xu. I wish you a smooth and successful career in the future. There was another wave of cheering. I took the trophy, and my eyes felt a bit hot. I waited for a few seconds before giving my acceptance speech. When I went up on stage to receive the award, I was with another male actor. When we were coming down, he instinctively reached out to support me. Qiao Chen glanced at him, and he suddenly widened his eyes, retracted his hand, and quickly left. I walked up to Qiao Chen and went down with him. I asked him amusedly, "Why did you scare him?" Qiao Chen put his arm around me and walked forward, his expression unchanged. What did I do to scare him? I just thought his hands were quite white. Me sitting in my seat, I secretly checked the trending searches. Sure enough, Weibo was in an uproar. The male actor's action of retracting his hand just now had been made into a GIF and was being forwarded like crazy. Some sharp-eyed netizens also noticed that my ring wasn't sponsored by the brand. They were all speculating whether Qiao Chen had already successfully proposed to me. Actually, we had already got the marriage certificate. One day last week, when I woke up, I found a ring on my hand. It wasn't the pair I had bought before. I asked him why he didn't use the ones I bought earlier. After all, they were the only pair in the world. While putting on his watch, he said, "This one is also the only one in the world. Don't you like it?" Actually, I liked it very much, but I deliberately asked him, "If I don't like it, can I change it?" He smiled and pinched my waist. "If you work hard today and grow 10 more fingers, I'll put a ring on each of them for you. You little money grubber." I had an event that day and was delayed for a while. The next morning, we went to get the marriage certificate. The awards ceremony had ended. Qiao Chen draped his coat over me, his eyes smiling. "Let's go home, Mrs. Qiao, the end of the full text, extra chapter, male lead's perspective. The kitten I've been raising has been getting more and more temperamental recently, showing its teeth more and more often. At least it's gotten used to me compared to before, when she always blindly complied, afraid of causing trouble. She's more lively now. The only headache is that she's gotten so into acting that she's filled with those clichés of the first love and substitute plot. In the future, I should give her fewer resources with such dross." We hadn't seen each other for 3 months. Finally she came back, but before we could say a few words, Song Qing pulled me away for a heart-to-heart talk. So annoying. He likes Shitsen. It's just 4 words, but he hasn't been able to say it for more than 20 years. No wonder his brother is already married, but he's still single. I originally wanted to give him a push by allowing the news of the arranged marriage between our parents to spread. I tacitly allowed the news to leak out. I don't know if he made any progress, but I almost got myself into trouble. The kitten was so angry that she even threw the ring away and ran off. When I picked up the ring and chased after her, she was already gone. The only call she answered was to tell me to move out. Fortunately, she still knew to drive me out instead of secretly suffering in silence. I wanted to go find her directly, but the project in the United States had problems at this time. I don't know what this group of people I'm paying are for. I flew to the United States overnight. Before I left, I told Assistant Lin to keep an eye on her news. Assistant Lin was somewhat useful. He knew to arrange bodyguards as soon as the negative news came out. I watched the complete video and investigated Ching Cece. I knew she had something else up her sleeve, so I didn't deal with it for the time being. Now the kitten must be crying secretly in the hotel. This is troublesome. It was only a few days later that I stabilized the situation, and I immediately flew back to China. I really don't know why her fans have such weak combat power. One by one, they can't even win an argument with the anti-fans and are completely suppressed by them. I had to step in and deal with this small matter myself. I suggest that her fans come to me and sign up for a class to learn how to refute anti-fans. Her contact information was all blocked, so I could only contact her on Weibo. At least I got to see her, but I didn't expect that the first time she caused trouble, it was such a big one. I held back the urge to comfort her first. If we don't get past this, she'll keep thinking about it. We still need to clarify things one by one. Seeing her arguing while feeling guilty, and being stubborn even though she's clearly head over heels in love. She's quite cute, also quite a headache. She always listens to so many people but doesn't want to listen to me. I'm the one who spoiled her, and now she takes out all her temper on me. But finally, I managed to appease her. The kitten is the cutest when she smiles. The end of the extra chapter.